Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles. Chapter 23-25. Aren't you afraid of being punished by the heavens? Qin Feiyang roared. The slaughter domain that protected him was also cracking and was in danger. Heavenly punishment. Do you have the face to talk about us? Every time you activate the slaughter domain, how many sea beasts have you killed? Let's talk about it later. Whether it's you humans or other beasts, in the eyes of us dragons, you're just ants. It doesn't matter even if you all die. The blonde youth sneered. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened and fell silent. That's right. His hands were also stained with blood. What qualifications did he have to talk about others? Don't panic, because the seal has not been fully unlocked. The four ancestral dragons sneered. It's already so terrifying when the seal has not been fully unlocked. Qin Feiyang was shocked. His heart also became worried. How much blood did the slaughter domain have to absorb to be comparable to a fully unlocked divine weapon? Continuing to stack the slaughter domain was obviously not the best way. But now, apart from the slaughter domain, he could no longer find anything that could compete with the divine weapon. The most terrifying thing was, the seal on the hammer had yet to be unlocked. If the seal on this divine weapon was also unlocked, then there would be no way to survive. It's too late to regret now. Go to hell. The blonde youth grabbed the sword and charged towards Qin Feiyang, not giving Qin Feiyang time to continue absorbing the blood. Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. He raised the blood-colored sword and slashed in anger. Clang! In an instant, the two divine weapons met. The situation of the first confrontation did not happen again. In their first clash, the blood-red sword had easily cut through the golden sword. But now, the two collided and entered an anxious stalemate. The blonde youth's face was full of sneers. Qin Feiyang's heart was extremely heavy. After the previous enhancement, the power of the blood-colored sword had increased by a large margin compared to before. However, even so, it could no longer pose a threat to the golden sword. One must know. Right now, the seal on the golden sword had not been completely unlocked, but it could already compete with the blood-colored sword. Once the seal was completely unlocked, with the current level of the slaughter domain, the situation would most likely be reversed instantly. At that time, it wasn't the blood-colored sword that was crushing the golden sword. It was the golden battle sword that crushed the crimson longsword as easily as crushing dry weeds. Faster, Qin Feiyang roared in his heart. There was still a lot of blood. But absorbing blood, there was a process. The seal was different. The seal on the golden sword was not a seal placed by an outsider. It was a seal placed by the artifact spirit. As long as the seal, it could instantly. So, the speed of the blood-colored sword was of the golden sword. Clang! Suddenly, the golden tessestier mort. The blood-colored longsword in Qin Feiyang's hand was immediately shattered. Qin Feiyang saw that the situation was bad and immediately activated the battle character formula. The battle armor formed by the battle symbol art did not even last half a blink of an eye before it shattered into pieces. Qin Feiyang's body, under the golden sword, was instantly dripping with blood and his bones were exposed. An aura of death also shrouded him. I should listen to the ancestor. When I'm strong, I'll come to divine land again, Qin Feiyang muttered. His consciousness quickly fell into darkness. All along, he had underestimated the power of the dragons and the power of the heaven-defying artifact. A heaven-defying divine artifact with its seal unlocked was not something he could shake. Unfortunately, it was too late to realize this now. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to lose all hope and his consciousness was about to dissipate, a black divine light suddenly emerged from his glabella. As soon as this divine light appeared, it immediately covered Qin Feiyang's body, blocking the golden sword. Immediately after, A black vortex emerged from Qin Feiyang's glabella. As soon as this black vortex appeared, the golden sword's estes was completely absorbed. Even the destructive airwaves emitted by the golden sword were all absorbed by the black vortex. This, the golden-haired young man and the other three stared at Qin Feiyang's glabella. What was that? It could actually absorb the divine artifacts as edge. And it was a heaven-defying artifact that was unsealed. Artifact spirit, unseal it all. The golden-haired young man came back to his senses and hurriedly shouted. Clang! The golden sword vibrated, and an even more terrifying aura erupted like a volcano. Crack! Boom! Within a radius of hundreds of millions of miles, whether it was the void or the sea, instantly turned into chaos. Except for the four ancestral dragons and Qin Feiyang, there was no living creature. Not to mention living creatures. Not even a stone, not even a speck of dust. It had completely turned into a chaotic zone, as if heaven and earth had just been created. But there were countless storms. An extremely terrifying storm filled the entire chaotic zone. Even an elite of the nine heavens realm would be torn to pieces in an instant. Even an elite of the undead realm, just like the four ancestral dragons, if it weren't for the two heaven-defying artifacts protecting them, they would definitely have died at this moment. The most important thing was, this disaster not only affected the entire sea, but even the continents outside the sea were also devastated. The mountains, villages, and cities began to collapse and shatter into pieces. The earth was also cracking. Countless creatures died tragically, and blood stained the mountains and rivers. Even the enchantment of the divine land also emerged. This enchantment covered the entire divine land, so when the enchantment appeared, it immediately alarmed everyone in the divine land. Whether it was humans or beasts, they all looked at the enchantment at this moment, their eyes full of shock. What was going on? Who was fighting, and the fluctuations were so terrifying. Especially the enchantment above the sea. Because the battlefield was in the sea, the enchantment above the sea bore the brunt of the impact. Under the impact of the golden sword's aura, it twisted crazily. The boundary of the sky dragon sea. The two burly men guarding the entrance were now standing above the sky dragon sea, looking at the twisted enchantment in horror. Was the seal of the heaven-defying artifact unsealed? It was too terrifying. Although separated by the enchantment, they couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts. Look at Qin Feiyang again. The dark divine light had been protecting him. The black vortex between his eyebrows was also getting bigger and bigger, constantly absorbing the aura and sharpness of the golden sword. Qin Feiyang's mind gradually became clear. When he noticed this scene, a trace of joy suddenly crept up in his heart. Because he was very familiar with the divine light that protected him. It was the ancient castle. He quickly took out a life-divine pill and threw it into his mouth. Pain, for him, was no longer important, as long as he survived. The black vortex did not disappear because of his awakening. What do you want to do? Qin Feiyang secretly asked. But the ancient castle did not respond to him. Qin Feiyang did not ask again. Because from the beginning until now, the ancient castle had not answered any of his questions. Boom! Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's mind exploded with a dull bang. This was too sudden. Qin Feiyang was completely unprepared, and his consciousness was almost shattered by this loud bang. Immediately after, a vast aura emerged from his eyebrows. Clang! The next moment, a palm-sized ancient castle swept out from between his eyebrows and suspended in front of Qin Feiyang. This is, Qin Feiyang shook his head, and when his consciousness became clear, when he saw the ancient castle in front of him, his face suddenly crept up with ecstasy. The ancient castle left between his eyebrows, didn't it mean that the seal of the golden small beast had been broken? Thinking of this, he finally understood. The ancient castle was previously using the power of the golden sword, coupled with its own power, to break the seal imposed by the small beast. Boom! The ancient castle said nothing. At that moment, a terrifying aura that was not inferior to the golden sword suddenly rushed out. The enchantment above the sea area seemed to have reached its limit, and cracks began to appear on it. What? Seeing this, the two burly men guarding the entrance immediately fled without looking back. Once this enchantment was broken, the destructive power of the heaven-defying artifact would rush out like a flood. Both of them would die. This was the horror of the unsealing of the heaven-defying artifact. However, the ancient castle did not directly confront the golden sword, but rolled up Qin Feiyang and flew toward the sky. The blonde youth's eyes were cold, looking at the black-robed elder and the burly man, and said in a deep voice, "I'm afraid this will be a tough battle, you should immediately inform the other ancestral dragons." The two nodded. Whoosh! The blonde youth and the silver-haired youth looked at each other, and immediately took the heaven-defying artifact, and flew toward the ancient castle and Qin Feiyang. At the top of the sky, the ancient castle did not stop and directly crashed into the enchantment. With a loud bang, a big hole suddenly appeared in the shattered enchantment. And this was also like a fuse. The entire enchantment began to disintegrate. But for this scene, Qin Feiyang and the ancient castle did not pay attention to it, and flew straight into the Star River. The blonde youth and the silver-haired youth looked at the enchantment, frowned, and ignored it, and chased into the Star River. Clang! Rumble! In the depths of the Star River, three light shadows crazily collided, exuding a destructive power. It was the axe, sunset divine bow, and iron fan. The three heaven-defying artifacts had been unsealed, and even the Star River was collapsing. Even Longzuan did not dare to approach the battlefield. She stood in the distance, looking at the axe from afar, a cold light flashed in her eyes. When the ancient castle took Qin Feiyang into the Star River, Longzuan's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise, and when she turned her head, the frost on her face became thicker. Whoosh! Without a word, the ancient castle directly attacked the sunset divine bow and iron fan. But before approaching the battlefield, Qin Feiyang only felt his body become light, and the next moment, he appeared in the hall of the ancient castle. Obviously, the ancient castle took the initiative to send him in. Because if Qin Feiyang were to stay outside, it would be a hindrance instead. With a clang, the ancient castle collided with the sunset divine bow, and immediately sparks flew everywhere. Although I don't know your origin, it is my honor to be able to fight side by side with you. The axe artifact spirit laughed loudly, and instantly became thousands of feet long, like a giant axe splitting the sky, and chopped at iron fan. The ancient castle still did not make a sound, like a silent old man. Damn it! Longzuan's face sank. Lord, we are here. And, I have already asked Old Black and the others to inform the other ancestral dragons. I believe that soon, everyone will come to support. The blonde youth and the silver-haired youth rushed in. The two heaven-defying artifacts directly flew into the depths of the Star River, and attacked the ancient castle and the axe. The blonde youth and the silver-haired youth rushed to Longzuan's side. Because after the heaven-defying artifacts were unsealed, they could not interfere in the battle. Chapter 23-26. What? The other ancestral dragons will also come to support. In the castle, Qin Feiyang and the others were shocked. At present, the dragons had 4 incredible artifacts. The castle and the axe had fallen into a disadvantage. If the other ancestral dragons came with incredible artifacts, perhaps, thinking of this, no one dared to think about it. But compared to the beginning, the castle now was quite quiet. Because after breaking the seal, the castle could isolate the movements outside. The white-eyed wolf said in a deep voice, "Little Qin Z, don't fight. Quickly find a chance to retreat. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. But in the face of 4 unsealed incredible artifacts, it was not easy to retreat. What could he do? Qin Feiyang racked his brains to think. Open the gate of the castle. Suddenly, an ethereal voice sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. The Shadowless Man. Qin Feiyang immediately shivered and turned to look at the closed gate of the castle. The seal of Small Beast had been broken, and he could indeed open the gate. But he was puzzled. Why did the Shadowless Man ask him to open the gate now? Would opening the door be of any help to the battle outside? But Qin Feiyang never doubted the words of the Shadowless Man. Since he said so, he must have his reasons. Phew. Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang stepped in front of the gate and slowly raised his arm. Seeing this, the white-eyed wolf, Hua Yi, and the others all looked at him suspiciously. Wait. I remember little Qin Zi said before that when the seal of Small Beast was broken, the gate could be opened. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. He quickly ran to Qin Feiyang and looked at the gate, his eyes full of expectation. Really? Dong Zhengyang and the others looked at each other and ran to Qin Feiyang, their faces full of curiosity. Boom! Qin Feiyang raised his arm, pressed on the stone gate, and exerted a little force. Immediately, a crack appeared on the stone door that was tightly shut. Everyone stared at the crack in the door. What was outside the door? Several breaths later, the heavy stone door was finally opened. However, whether it was Qin Feiyang, White-Eyed Wolf, Hua Yi, or the others, all of them were stunned. Outside the door, it was pitch black. Nothing could be seen. Furthermore, there wasn't even the slightest sound. It was dead silent. Fire Lotus murmured, could it be an empty space? Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a flame appeared and swept into the darkness. Immediately, within a radius of several hundred miles, it was as bright as day. Qin Feiyang was stunned. Within a radius of several hundred miles, there were no signs of life, not even a blade of grass. On the ground, there was a barren expanse. Shall we go out and take a look? White-Eyed Wolf asked. Everyone was a little tempted. Qin Feiyang was the same. With a solemn expression, he warned, be careful. Although this place was closely related to the ancient castle, it was too mysterious. They didn't know if there was any danger, so they couldn't be careless. Everyone nodded. The group of people stepped through the door one after another and stood on the ground outside, looking around. Fire Lotus said, the ground is very solid. It doesn't seem to be an empty space. Qin Feiyang stepped on the ground and turned his head to look at Hua Yi. Hua Yi understood. With a wave of his hand, flames surged into the sky. Not long after, a scorching sun condensed from flames appeared in the sky, shining in all directions. This dark space suddenly lit up. Everyone was dumbfounded. What appeared in front of them was actually a boundless land. There were vast plains and towering mountains and rivers. It was like a continent hidden in the darkness. But there were no living creatures, no plants, and everything was quiet, like a land of death. And they couldn't feel the slightest bit of essence qi. What kind of place is this? Looking at everything in front of them, everyone's faces were full of suspicion. Qin Feiyang said in his mind, Shadowless, can you hear me? The door has been pushed open, what's next? Integrate the Black Tortoise realm into this world. The voice of the Shadowless came out. What? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The Shadowless said, doing this, whether it's for you, the Black Tortoise realm, or the ancient castle, it's all beneficial. What benefits? Qin Feiyang was suspicious. The other ancestral dragons are about to come, I don't have time to explain in detail. When you have time, ask the origin soul of the Black Tortoise realm, he will tell you. The Shadowless said. Origin soul. Qin Feiyang was stunned. What was this? What a waste of time, I am the origin soul. Suddenly, a little boy like a porcelain doll appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. You? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. The little boy nodded. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Wait, how can you hear my conversation with the shadowless? The little boy cast a sidelong glance at Qin Feiyang and said, You are my little brother, is it strange that I can hear you? Little brother? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. Since when did he become this little guy's little brother? Okay. Even if he was a little brother. But was this directly related to being able to hear his conversation with the shadowless? I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. The little boy put his hands behind his back and stared at Qin Feiyang like an old man, then swept his gaze at Fire Lotus and the others, and shouted, All of you, return to the castle. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He was not big, but he was quite arrogant. Fire Lotus and the others were also quite speechless. Let's go. Qin Feiyang helplessly shook his head, looked at everyone and said a few words, then turned and entered the castle hall, then turned his head to look at the little boy outside. The little boy stood in the void, looked around, nodded his head in satisfaction, and muttered, This place is not bad. As his voice fell, he waved his little hand, and a diamond-shaped crystal appeared out of thin air. It was the size of an adult's palm, with distinct edges and corners, like a sparkling diamond, blooming with endless light. That light even covered the blazing sun that Hui condensed with divine power. The little boy glanced at the crystal, then turned his head to look at Qin Feiyang, waved his little hand again, and shouted, Black Tortoise Realm, appear. Immediately, Qin Feiyang felt an invisible force descend. Following closely, a dazzling divine light swept out from between his eyebrows, flying towards the little boy. The little boy also stretched out his little hand. The divine light stopped above the little boy's palm, revealing its true form. It was an existence like a crystal ball. The surface was crystal clear, exuding a hazy light. Inside, there were mountains and rivers, as well as countless creatures. Like beasts, wild beasts, and humans. Grass, trees, rivers. There was even the sky and stars. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at the crystal ball from afar, their faces showing surprise. That was because they saw a complete world inside. And it was very, very familiar. It was the Black Tortoise Realm. They could even clearly see the Devil's Land, the medicinal field, and the small courtyard in the middle of the medicinal field. This is the Black Tortoise Realm. Hui murmured. He had been to the Black Tortoise Realm before. But a complete world actually turned into something like a crystal ball. No matter how he looked at it, it was unbelievable. It felt like a dream, too unreal. As for the demon ancestor, Dong Xingyang, Mo Long, and Zhang Xiaoyang, they were undoubtedly even more surprised. If it was someone who didn't know, looking at this thing like a crystal ball, they would definitely think that it was just a child's toy. They would never have thought that there would be a real world inside. Really a group of country bumpkins who have never seen the world, bumpkins. The little boy glanced at Qin Feiyang and the others, his big eyes full of contempt. The corners of Qin Feiyang and the others' mouths twitched fiercely. This little guy, the more they looked at him, the more they wanted to beat him up. The little boy turned a blind eye, retracted his gaze, and stared at the Black Tortoise Realm, saying, Origin power, appear. Immediately, the diamond-shaped crystal stone floating by the side bloomed with a bright five-colored divine light. These five-colored divine lights were filled with an extremely pure energy. This energy was the essence of heaven and earth. Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. This essence, whether it was the purity or the density, was countless times stronger than the essence contained in the divine crystal. No, no, no. Between the two, there was no comparison at all. It was estimated that compared to this essence, even the divine crystal vein was 100,000 miles away. If he absorbed this essence to cultivate, it might be faster than refining the soul stone. However, there was one thing that surprised him. This black tortoise realm, like the ancient castle, had been hidden in his glabella. Wine. As soon as the 5-colored divine lights appeared, they poured into the black tortoise realm. The palm-sized black tortoise realm suddenly rose into the air, suspended high in the sky, and began to grow continuously. The mountains, rivers, and all living things inside became clearer. He could even see the people's expressions clearly. Soon, the black tortoise realm occupied the entire sky. Merge. As the little boy waved his hand, the black tortoise realm began to slowly merge with this dark world. The first step was the merging of the sky. The originally dark sky, after connecting with the sky of the black tortoise realm, immediately lit up. A full moon hung in the sky, the moonlight spread down, the void and the earth seemed to be covered with a layer of pure white veil. The stars in the sky were constantly flickering. Hua Yi said in shock, "Are you really going to merge the black tortoise realm into this world?" This scene was unprecedented, it was too miraculous. "You think I'm joking with you?" The little boy glanced at him. Hua Yi looked at the little boy standing in the void and couldn't help but gulp. Although this little boy looked innocent and cute, and his aura wasn't strong, he gave him a great sense of oppression. And it was an oppression that came from the soul. He even had an impulse to worship him. It was as if the little boy was the god of creation of this world. "This merging will take a long time, you guys go do what you need to do, don't join in the fun here." The little boy waved his little hand and said impatiently. Qin Feiyang and the others smiled bitterly. This little guy, how much did he dislike them? "Alright, let's not look for trouble, let's look at the situation outside." Qin Feiyang turned around, and with a wave of his hand, an image suddenly appeared in the void in front of him. In the image, 6 heaven-defying divine artifacts crazily collided, the destructive aura swept out in all directions. Kacha, accompanied by a loud sound, the galaxy continued to collapse. It was like the eve of the world's destruction. Long Zun and the other two looked at the golden sword and hammer in surprise. Immediately, the three of them looked as if they had seen a ghost, their eyes wide open in anger. On the golden sword and hammer, there was a crack as wide as a finger. In other words, the castle had destroyed 2 heaven-defying divine weapons by itself. How was this possible? It's not real. This is definitely not true. The three of them shook their heads. None of them were willing to believe what they were seeing. They were both heaven-defying divine artifacts. In any case, no matter what happened, it was impossible for the castle to turn defeat into victory. Not to mention, the golden sword and hammer were damaged. Because of the princess's father, they didn't kill humans. Qin Feiyang and the others were also dumbfounded. The castle's current performance was too shocking. They all wanted to convince themselves that this scene was real. But in their hearts, they just couldn't accept it. Clang! The ancient castle's momentum was like a rainbow as it once again collided, destroying all directions. At this moment, the golden sword and hammer, these 2 heaven-defying divine artifacts, were no longer a match. On the body, another crack appeared. Moreover, it was wider, deeper, and longer than the first crack. Who can tell me what's going on? Why did it suddenly become so strong? Is this still a heaven-defying divine artifact? Long Zun murmured. The facts were in front of them, and they had no choice but to accept it. Unfortunately, no one answered her. The 2 blonde youths were also at a loss. The silver-haired youth suddenly said, "Lord Long Zun, to capture the bandits, capture the leader first. Why don't you use the power of law and we directly enter the castle to capture Qin Feiyang?" Stupid. With the current state of the castle, it's easy to kill us. How dare you run into its body? Aren't you sending us to our deaths? Long Zun berated. The silver-haired youth's body stiffened. Yes. Even the two unsealed heaven-defying divine artifacts were no match for the castle, let alone them. Entering the castle now was tantamount to walking right into the trap. However, if they didn't think of a way, they might be defeated at this rate. And it would be a crushing defeat. Boom! At this moment, outside the Milky Way, terrifying auras were approaching from all directions. The blonde and silver-haired youths were stunned. They turned their heads to look and gradually revealed a trace of joy on their faces. Not good. It must be the other ancestral dragons. Qin Feiyang and the others also sensed those auras. Castle, let's go. The white-eyed wolf roared. Although the castle now appeared to be very strong, one must know that the other ancestral dragons each had a heaven-defying divine artifact. If they continued to fight, I'm afraid they would all be buried here. Ah! Screams suddenly resounded. The group of people's bodies were also torn apart. Their divine soul was also seriously injured and they fainted on the spot. Immediately. The castle did not completely kill them. Together with the axe, it disappeared in the sky above the divine land like lightning. When Long Zun rushed over and saw this scene, she almost went crazy. This time, in order to kill Qin Feiyang, the dragons could be said to have come out in full force. But in the end, not only did they not kill Qin Feiyang, but her ancestral dragons were all wiped out. Even if she had fought with Qin Batian before, she had never suffered such a loss. Castle, damn thing. Just how did you suddenly become so strong? Long Zun could not figure it out. Her hatred for the castle also surpassed Qin Feiyang in an instant. If not for the castle, not to mention one Qin Feiyang, even if there were 10 or 100 of them, they would not be able to escape death today. Mother, what's going on? Suddenly, a shocked voice rang out. Long Zun looked up and saw a woman standing in front of him. It was the princess of the dragons. Long Zun suppressed his anger and said, "When did you come? What are you doing here again?" "I just came. Just now, when I saw all the ancestral dragons rushing over to support, I was a little worried, so I came to take a look." The princess of the dragons said. "Now you see it. This is Qin Feiyang's foundation. My ancestral dragons are all wiped out," Long Zun said in a deep voice. After saying that, he waved his hand, and the broken divine souls of the two also emerged. What? Completely wiped out? The princess of the dragon's eyes trembled. Long Zun said, "But fortunately, their divine souls are still there." The princess of the dragons breathed a sigh of relief. As long as their divine souls were still there, the ancestral dragons would not die. But it was undeniable that this battle had greatly damaged the vitality of the dragons. Long Zun's eyes flickered with a cold light and said, "You take them back first." The princess of the dragons asked, "What about you?" "The enchantment of the divine land has collapsed, and I have to set up another enchantment to prevent the ants of the 4 major domains from sneaking into the divine land. Then go and track down the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang and the others. I believe that they will definitely stay in the divine land." After the princess of the dragons finished speaking, she took the sunset divine bow and the other 3 heaven-defying divine artifacts and broke through the sky. The 4 divine artifacts had once again entered a state of self-sealing. I didn't expect that a mere Qin Feiyang would cause us dragons to suffer such heavy losses. It seems that his threat has far exceeded that of Qin Batian. The princess of the dragons muttered, opened the altar, and left with the other ancestral dragons. The galaxy gradually returned to calm. However, the residual battle fluctuations and the shattered galaxy would not be able to be repaired in a short period of time. Chapter 23-28. The Sea Below. The sea that was originally dried up because of the battle, because of the collapse of the enchantment of the divine land, the seawater outside the enchantment poured in, so now it was restored to a vast sea. Moreover, many sea beasts also took the opportunity to follow the seawater into the divine land. However, although the sea area was restored to its original state, the destroyed islands and the innocent creatures that died would never return. Also, the tragic aura and the smell of blood that filled the air above the sea area were difficult to dissipate. Whoosh! Suddenly, a hazy figure descended above the sea area. It was Longzuan. "Greetings, Lord Longzuan." The two burly men guarding the entrance rushed over from afar and respectfully knelt in front of Longzuan. "You're not dead." Longzuan looked at the two in a daze. "Lord Longzuan. Before the enchantment was broken, the two of us had already retreated, so we were lucky to escape this disaster." The two said. Fortunately, they had the foresight to leave early. Otherwise, when the enchantment of the divine land collapsed, the destructive airwaves would surge and they would undoubtedly die. Just like the entrance to the divine land. At that time, even Huai could not break it, but when the enchantment collapsed, under the impact of the airwaves, it was instantly turned into ashes. "You're quite smart." Longzuan's words carried a hint of admiration. "Thank you, Lord Longzuan." The two of them were flattered. Longzuan looked up at the sky. Boom! Suddenly, a milky white divine power shot up into the sky like a waterfall. Half an hour later, an enchantment appeared out of nowhere and enveloped the entire divine land. When Longzuan stopped, the enchantment immediately disappeared into the void. Following closely, Longzuan used his great magical power to create a new entrance, then looked at the two men and said, "Guard here well, don't let anyone step into the divine land." "Yes." The two of them respectfully responded. One of them carefully asked, "Lord Longzuan, that Qin Feiyang. He escaped?" Longzuan said, then released his divine sense and stepped on the waves step by step, conducting a thorough search of the sea area. "What? He actually escaped? Brother, did I hear that right?" The two of them were dumbfounded. Even the seal of the divine artifact was unlocked, but he still couldn't kill Qin Feiyang. How difficult was this human to deal with? Ahead. Tens of billions of sea area. When Longzuan used his divine sense to search the sea area, a head quietly emerged from the sea. It was Qin Feiyang. On his neck, he was wearing the mystic moon jade pendant. The divine moon jade pendant was made from heaven domain divine stone and could completely hide a person. In other words, unless they saw Qin Feiyang with their own eyes, even if their spiritual perception enveloped Qin Feiyang, they wouldn't be able to discover him. Qin Feiyang. And Qin Feiyang and the others. Of the divine land. Qin. Qin. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Why didn't she use this divine power before? Zhang. As far as I know, there is a limit to this divine power. It must be face to face. The axe floated in the middle of the hall. It had lost its previous luster and was rusty. It said. So that's how it is. Everyone nodded in realization. Ancestor Mo asked, then, is there a limit to their ability to hear voice transmissions? Yes. The range is within 1,000 miles. They can't hear it through the divine artifact. The spirit said. It's good that there is a limit. Qin Feiyang whispered. If there was no limit, it would be too terrifying. Under such an ability, there was nowhere to hide. Zhang. Xiaoyang pondered for a while. He looked at the axe and said, Senior, I have another question. Talents are usually unique. But why do the mother and daughter have two of the same abilities? I'm not too sure about this. Maybe it's because their battle souls are special, so even their talents are the same. The spirit thought for a while and said. Zhang. Xiaoyang nodded. It seemed that this was the only explanation that made sense. All right. This time, everyone should have been frightened. Now that the crisis has been resolved, let's all have a good rest. Qin Feiyang smiled. Hui Yi shook his head inside, it's more than just a scare. If it wasn't for the castle, none of us would have been able to escape. We would all have died. Ancestor Mo and the others nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at the axe. Spirit, I want to talk to you alone. Okay. The spirit replied. Qin Feiyang turned and entered the cultivation room. The axe also flew in. Then, Qin Feiyang closed the stone door. Fire Lotus and Hui Yi looked at each other and looked at the closed stone door. There was a hint of worry in their eyes. In the cultivation room, Qin Feiyang turned to look at the axe and bowed, thank you for saving us. No. I should be the one thanking you. If it wasn't for you, she wouldn't have been able to revive so quickly, let alone get rid of her undead body. I can see how good you are to her. And this is the reason why she relies on you. The spirit was gratified. This sheik was naturally referring to Fire Lotus. From the tone of the spirit, it seemed that he also loved Fire Lotus very much, like a family member. Rely on, Qin Feiyang muttered, so, when I met you in the land of the undead, you had already recovered your consciousness? That's right. Back then, during the battle with the dragons, my body was severely damaged. After that, I realized that I couldn't defeat the dragons with the strength of 9 Heavens Palace, so I took her remnant soul and hid. After the dragons left, I went to find the fragments of my body, then took her body and hid in the land of the undead to recuperate. The pile of bones you saw back then was her. The spirit said. Qin Feiyang asked suspiciously, then, the people of 9 Heavens Palace didn't go back to find her bones? They did. But this matter was too important. Because if the dragons knew that she still had a remnant soul in this world, they definitely wouldn't let her go. So, I kept it from the people of 9 Heavens Palace. The spirit said. Qin Feiyang nodded, then why didn't you kill me in the land of the undead? Because I sensed the power of your bloodline. The power of the purple gold dragon bloodline isn't something that ordinary people can have. So, I guessed that you might be related to Qin Batian. As expected. When you gave this body to Zhao Tailai, he quickly learned of your identity from your conversation with him. At that time, it was I who told her to shamelessly follow you. The spirit smiled. Shamelessly? Qin Feiyang froze for a moment, then shook his head and smiled bitterly. When Fire Lotus first followed him, she was indeed shamelessly shameless. Then why did you keep hiding Fire Lotus's identity? Qin Feiyang asked. Hearing this, the spirit suddenly became hesitant. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and said, or is it that Fire Lotus has already recovered her memories, but has been hiding it from me? The spirit seemed to be very surprised. It seems that I guessed right. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. After knowing that this axe was a heaven-defying divine weapon of the 9 Heavens Palace, he had already thought of this possibility. Because Fire Lotus could lose her memories, but this axe definitely couldn't. Moreover, ever since Fire Lotus took the undead spirit breakthrough pill and successfully passed the tribulation, she had been acting very strange. Especially last time, she actually brought the Grey Castle to the Sky Dragon Sea and cleared all the obstacles for him. If it was a person who had lost her memories, she definitely wouldn't dare to do this. Moreover, every time she encountered a crisis, Fire Lotus would be extremely calm and composed. Was this the behavior of a person who had lost her memories? The most important thing was, whenever it came to recovering her memories, Fire Lotus wasn't in a hurry at all. This obviously didn't make sense. Combining all of these, he thought that Fire Lotus might have recovered her memories. That was why he thought of asking the spirit. In the end, he really got the answer. Don't misunderstand. She didn't mean to deceive you, she just didn't want to leave you. Because once I tell you that she has recovered her memories, you will definitely let her return to the Nine Heavens Palace. The spirit quickly explained. Qin Feiyang was silent for a while, then sighed, "To be honest, I really don't know, what do I have to rely on?" "You just didn't notice it. Didn't you notice? Whether it's Xiao Tai Lai and the others, or the fierce beasts like the white-eyed wolf, as long as they follow you, they will be loyal to you. This is all because you are good to them, making them feel that following you is worth it." The spirit said. "Is that so? I really didn't notice. I just feel that since they are following me, I can't treat them badly." Qin Feiyang said. "Then think about it. How many people in this world can do what you did? Just like Mu Tianyang and the demon ancestor in the past. In their eyes, who isn't cannon fodder? To treat someone with sincerity is simply impossible." The spirit said. Qin Feiyang was stunned for a moment, then smiled. "After hearing what you said, I suddenly feel that I am quite great. It is undeniable that in today's world of deceit and selfishness, you are indeed great. After all, no matter what difficulties you encounter, you are always at the forefront. When there are benefits, the first thing you think of is not for yourself, but for your friends, family, and subordinates. As for Fire Lotus, this girl, this lord watched her grow up. Her parents died when she was very young, and she had no siblings. She lived alone in this world, which made her character very lonely. Even after she entered the Nine Heavens Palace, she never spoke to anyone. She didn't even have a single friend by her side. Every day, other than cultivating, she cultivated. It was only after she met Hui Yi that she didn't feel so lonely. However, their relationship is merely that of close friends. Until she met you, all these years, you treated her well, took care of her, and cared for her. This made her feel very at ease and happy. Most importantly, she can tell that you're not putting on an act. You truly care for her. So gradually, she became dependent on you. Even after she recovered her memories, she didn't want to leave. She even wanted to forget her identity as the palace master of the Nine Heavens Palace and stay by your side as a little sister, silently enjoying this care. This lord also understood this desire in her heart, so I didn't stop her." The spirit said. Chapter 23-29. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang felt a lot of emotions. Fire Lotus's life was really not easy. Although she had unparalleled status and power, although she looked majestic and dazzling, her heart was extremely empty and lonely. There was a good saying. Behind the brilliance, there must be unbearable pain. Perhaps this was life. Qin Feiyang asked, "Then when did she recover her memories?" The artifact spirit said, "After taking the undead barrier breaking pill and successfully passing the tribulation, she had already recovered her memories. I didn't expect it to be hidden from me for so long." Qin Feiyang shook his head. The artifact spirit hurriedly said, "Please don't be angry, although I don't like to be deceived. This is an exception. I have always treated her as a sister, as a family member, and I also hope that she can be happy and happy." Qin Feiyang smiled. The artifact spirit breathed a sigh of relief and said with a pleading tone, "Then this matter, can you not expose it?" Qin Feiyang was stunned and frowned. "Do you still want to continue like this? Since she yearns for this happiness and care, why not continue to fulfill her wishes? Wait until one day in the future, I think she will take the initiative to confess to you," the artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and nodded with a smile. "All right. Thank you," the artifact spirit said gratefully. Qin Feiyang asked, "What are Fire Lotus and Hui Yi's real names?" The artifact spirit said, "I think that from now on, she will use the name Fire Lotus for the rest of her life, so her previous name is no longer important." "Her previous name is no longer important," Qin Feiyang muttered. Wasn't this the same as him? Her previous name had become a memory that was about to be forgotten. The name Qin Feiyang would be eternal. The artifact spirit said, "As for Hui Yi, his real name is Yi Xiao Yao." Qin Feiyang asked, "Then this is not his real appearance?" Of course, the artifact spirit replied. All right. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. Then, he turned around, opened the stone door, and walked out. The axe also entered Fire Lotus's body. Hua Yi curiously looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "You were inside for so long, what did you talk about?" "You talk too much." Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. "You're acting so sneakily. You're definitely up to no good." Hua Yi pouted. Qin Feiyang ignored him. He walked to the front of the gate and scanned the world outside the castle. The young boy was still standing in the void of space. The sky of the Black Tortoise world had already merged with the sky of the world of darkness by about a tenth. The land around the ancient castle became much brighter. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed beside the little boy. He smiled and said, "You're progressing quite quickly." "Fast?" "This is just the beginning. To completely integrate the Black Tortoise realm into this world, it will take at least 8 to 10 years. The little boy said. "That long?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "What do you think? You have to understand that we're fusing a small world now, not playing house." The little boy glanced at him unhappily. "All right. I won't disturb you anymore." Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly and returned to the ancient castle. He looked at everyone and said, "It's definitely not safe to go out now. Let's cultivate in the castle for a while." Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang turned to Fire Lotus and said, "Arrange a cultivation room for them." "Okay." Fire Lotus obediently replied. Qin Feiyang smiled and entered the cultivation room. He took out a soul stone and began cultivating. To break through from initial Divine Lord to initial Divine Lord, he needed to refine 1 billion soul stones. To break through from initial Divine Lord to advanced Divine Lord, he needed to refine 2 billion soul stones. And after breaking through to the level of a small success Divine Lord, the speed at which he refined soul stones had increased by quite a bit. Now, he could refine about 700 soul stones a day. 2 billion divided by 700 was about 2,860,000. 365 days a year. In other words, it would take more than 7,800 years to refine 2 billion soul stones. Of course. More than 7,800 years was calculated according to the time outside. According to the time in the ancient castle, 1 day was 10 years, so it would only take more than 780 days. It would take a little more than 2 years. In other words, in 2 years, Qin Feiyang would be able to break through to advanced Divine Lord. To break through from initial Divine Lord to advanced Divine Lord in 2 years was something that others would not even dare to think about. But to Qin Feiyang, it was still too long. Especially after seeing the power of the dragons. This huge monster gave him unprecedented pressure. He wished that he could break through one realm in a day and step into the imperishable realm in a few days. But this was not realistic. Cultivation could only be done step by step. In the blink of an eye. 10 years passed. This was 10 years in the ancient castle. Only 1 day had passed outside. Boom! On this morning. Outside the ancient castle, there was a deafening sound. Immediately, everyone who was cultivating in seclusion was awakened. They hurriedly ran out of their cultivation rooms and gathered in front of the ancient castle's gate. Qin Feiyang was also there. Looking at the world outside the gate, their eyes were filled with shock. Outside, the originally dark world had completely disappeared at this moment. What replaced it was a vast and boundless land of mountains and rivers. Just outside the entrance was a herb field. Stalks of herbs, trees of destinies, and trees of the nascent soul swayed in the wind. And on the left side of the ancient castle, there was a simple little courtyard. Wasn't this the herb field of the Black Tortoise world? The little boy stood above the herb field, sweating profusely. But when he looked around, there was a gratified smile on his little face. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang and the others flew out of the ancient castle and landed beside the little boy. They looked around. That's right. The mountains and rivers in front of them were the Black Tortoise World's Devil Land. Qin Feiyang asked, has it all merged? Yes. The little boy wiped his sweat and nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, is there no change at all? Of course not. You can check it yourself. The little boy said. Qin Feiyang immediately closed his eyes and extended his perception. Sure enough. The Black Tortoise World didn't change at all. Whether it was humans or beasts, it was the same as before. Even. They didn't seem to notice that the Black Tortoise World had changed. Seeing that you usually treat the Devil Land as your base, I used the Devil Land as the center when merging. In other words, the Devil Land is now the central area of the Black Tortoise World. The ancient castle is also here. The little boy grabbed the ancient castle below and said. Qin Feiyang looked down. The ancient castle and the small courtyard were side by side. After 10 years of cultivation, the cracks on the ancient castle had been repaired. The white-eyed wolf asked, according to what you said, the creatures of the Black Tortoise World can enter the ancient castle now? Yes. However, Qin Feiyang can restrict them from entering the ancient castle. He can also restrict them from entering the Devil Land. In short, in the Black Tortoise World, Qin Feiyang is the ruler of everything. Of course, there is also me. The little boy said proudly. Qin Feiyang asked, then what are the benefits of merging the Black Tortoise World with this place? The little boy scanned the world and smiled, the benefits after the fusion are something you can't imagine. Hurry up and say it, don't keep me in suspense. The white-eyed wolf stared at him with dissatisfaction. The little boy glanced at the white-eyed wolf and said, little wolf, you better respect me, or I will directly throw you out. Tisk. The white-eyed wolf smiled disdainfully. You still don't believe me? The little boy suddenly frowned. Qin Feiyang said, okay, hurry up and say it. I'll let you go for now. The little boy snorted and said, first of all, the first benefit is the time array. Time array? Everyone was suspicious. This world is connected to the ancient castle. And because of the connection between the two, this world is also enveloped by the time array. And when the Black Tortoise World merged with this world, it naturally received the support of the time array. In short, the Black Tortoise World is now like the ancient castle. A day outside is 10 years here. The little boy said. Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other. The time laws of the Black Tortoise World had become the same as the ancient castle. How is it? Do you like this benefit? The little boy looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. I like it. Qin Feiyang nodded repeatedly. First of all, from now on, everyone didn't have to squeeze into the ancient castle. Because the Black Tortoise World was already like the ancient castle, they could cultivate in seclusion as usual outside. Next were medicinal herbs, crystal veins, and soul lines. These rare treasures needed time to grow. For example, soul lines. The speed of growth was extremely slow. The production was very low. For example, a level 1 soul line could only produce 10 soul stones a year. But it was different now. A day outside was 10 years in the Black Tortoise World. In other words, whether it was the speed of growth or the production, it would double. There is also the most important point. As the time laws of the Black Tortoise World change, the growth of the Black Tortoise World will also accelerate. The little boy said again. Qin Feiyang nodded. Indeed. In the past, the time laws of the Black Tortoise World were the same as the outside world, such as the ancient castle, the Forgotten Continent, and the Great Qin Empire. But now, because of the ancient castle, the time laws had undergone earth-shaking changes, and the growth of the Black Tortoise World naturally accelerated. For example, a sapling was planted in the Black Tortoise world and the ancient world at the same time. After a day, the sapling planted in the ancient world was still just a sapling. But the sapling planted in the Black Tortoise world, because of the time laws, had already grown into a big tree after 10 years of wind and frost. This was the difference. Hui asked, then what are the other benefits? The little boy said, the current Black Tortoise world is no longer as fragile as before. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and hurriedly asked, what do you mean? After fusing with this place, the Black Tortoise world is equivalent to receiving the protection of the ancient castle, and its toughness has also been greatly improved. Now, even an imperishable stage powerhouse can't pose a threat to the Black Tortoise world. It's even more impossible to forcefully break the Black Tortoise world. Unless, we destroy the ancient castle first. The little boy said. Qin Feiyang was overjoyed when he heard this. To be honest, this was the most delightful thing. Chapter 23:30. Wait a moment. Hui waved his hand and frowned. Why does it sound like the Black Tortoise world is the only one benefiting from the fusion? How is that possible? The fusion brings more benefits to the ancient castle than the Black Tortoise world. The boy said. More benefits? Hui was taken aback and asked suspiciously, what benefits? Transformation. The boy enunciated each word clearly. Transformation. The more Hui listened, the more puzzled he became. A heaven-defying divine artifact isn't the top divine artifact in this world. Above the heaven-defying divine artifact, there's another level of divine artifact. A divine artifact of this level is comparable to a world's creator God. The boy said. What? There's actually such a divine artifact. The group of people was extremely shocked. There are many things in this world that are beyond your imagination. A divine artifact of this level is called a Genesis divine weapon. The boy looked at Qin Feiyang and the others. His eyes seemed to be mocking them for being a bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well. Qin Feiyang didn't get angry and asked, is there a Genesis divine weapon in this world? Regarding a Genesis divine weapon, you're not qualified to know. You won't understand its mysteries. All you need to know is that after the Black Tortoise world fuses with this place, there's hope for the ancient castle to evolve into a Genesis divine weapon. The boy said. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but be fascinated by the boy's words. Wait a minute. Could it be that the sudden change in the ancient castle during the battle in the galaxy is related to the fusion of the Black Tortoise world? The white-eyed wolf looked at the boy in surprise. What else could it be? If it wasn't for the fusion of the Black Tortoise world, the ancient castle would have been blasted into smithereens. The boy sneered. So that's how it is. After fusing with a small world, the ancient castle's power will increase. Everyone murmured. The boy glanced at Hui and said, you still dare to say that only the Black Tortoise world benefits? Hui smiled embarrassedly. Forget it, I'm too lazy to argue with you country bumpkins who haven't seen the world. The boy shook his head, his face was full of contempt. The corners of Hui's mouth twitched. This arrogant little guy, he really wanted to slap him. I have a question. Now that the Black Tortoise world's time laws are the same as the ancient castle, wouldn't that be the same as benefiting the Black Tortoise world's living beings? The fiend ancestor suddenly spoke. The little boy sneered and said, as expected of a frog at the bottom of a well. The demon ancestor's expression froze. In his heart, he could not help but have the urge to beat this little guy up. How can this be called letting them off lightly? If they become stronger, who benefits the most? Qin Feiyang, of course. Look at the current situation. However, perhaps because of the residual battle aura, these sea beasts did not attack him. Along the way, it was very smooth. 2 days later, he appeared in the sky above a huge island. But the island was fragmented. More than half of the island was submerged by the sea. And on the island, he saw corpses one after another. There were sea beasts. There were also human corpses. There were countless of them. It was like a cultivation hell. Needless to say, this was caused by the recovery of the golden sword. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply and slammed his palm down. With a loud bang, the broken island immediately collapsed and was completely swallowed by the sea. On the way, what he saw was basically such a scene of corpses everywhere. He did not know how many creatures died tragically in this catastrophe. War was the most ruthless. This sentence was indeed true. Time flew by. Another 3 days passed. Early in the morning, Qin Feiyang finally saw a relatively intact island, which was also full of corpses. Blood dyed the whole island red. The air was filled with the smell of blood that couldn't be dispersed. Qin Feiyang stood above the island, overlooking everything on the island with a trace of confusion in his eyes. At this moment, he wanted to blame the dragons. But he found that he was not qualified at all. Because he was also involved in the death of these people. Moreover, every time he opened the slaughter zone, he had to kill a large number of sea beasts or beasts. Speaking of which, he was a real executioner. This caused him to fall into a state of confusion. Why did it become like this? Thinking back to the past, even in the face of beasts, he could maintain a sympathetic and compassionate heart. But now, except for humans, no other creatures seemed to be able to make him feel pity. When he slaughtered them, it was so natural. Such a cold-blooded character, was it still him? If he had not slaughtered creatures in the past, then now, he could confidently blame the dragons. Conscience, he would not be blamed. Did he really change? Become ruthless, cruel, and inhuman? You have indeed changed. Suddenly, an ethereal voice rang in Qin Feiyang's sea of consciousness. Chapter 23:31. Qin Feiyang's body stiffened. The owner of this voice was the Shadowless Man. If even the Shadowless Man noticed that he had changed, then he had really changed. But why did it become like this? The Shadowless Man said, because of the slaughter domain. Slaughter domain? Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and frowned. That's impossible. There are no side effects of the slaughter domain. There are indeed no side effects of the slaughter domain. But every time you open the slaughter domain, you have to slaughter living beings and absorb their blood. This kind of killing intent will gradually germinate in your heart. In the long run, your personality will slowly change. The Shadowless Man smiled. So that's how it is. Qin Feiyang suddenly came to his senses as if he had been hit in the head. If you want to return to the past, then don't open the slaughter domain in the future. But in fact, I don't object to you continuing. Because I believe that no matter how you change, your attitude towards your family and friends, and your attitude towards the righteousness of the world, will not change at all. The Shadowless Man smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly and said, "Senior, am I not as great as you say?" He had never thought about the righteousness of the world at all. He just wanted to help his ancestors deal with the matters of the ancient world and then return to the great Qin to reunite with his family. Don't speak too early. Perhaps one day in the future, you will have to stand up. The Shadowless Man smiled. I hope there won't be such a day. Because I really don't want to bear so much pressure. But then again, I have known you for many years. I wonder when I can see your glory. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. There will be a chance. Work hard. As for the slaughter domain, do as you wish. Don't force yourself. After the Shadowless Man finished speaking, he fell silent. My own wish, Qin Feiyang murmured. His own wish was actually not to open the slaughter domain at all. But in order to survive, he had no choice. Perhaps, it was not him who was wrong, nor was it the dragons. It was the way of the world. The way of the world was like this: the weak were prey to the strong, and the fittest survived. Who was to blame? Perhaps, they could only blame their bad luck. He was born in this era. After a long time, Qin Feiyang sighed and waved his hand. The blood on the island immediately surged into the air. Yes. The purpose of collecting this blood was to prepare for the next opening of the slaughter zone. Facing the dragons, he had no choice but to do so. No matter what he had to face in the future, he had to survive first. However, he only collected the blood and did not touch the corpses. After all, the dead should be respected. After collecting the blood on the island and burying the corpses on the island, they continued to move forward. Time flew by, and another 5 days passed. Even he had no idea how many corpses he had encountered in the past 5 days. As for the blood he had collected, it was probably enough for him to activate his slaughter domain 3 times. Of course. This was only the first stage. Over the past few days, he had carefully thought about it. The strength of the slaughter zones was somewhat difficult to distinguish. Therefore, after much consideration, he divided the slaughter domain into 4 stages. The first stage was the same as before, crushing the heaven-defying divine artifacts that had not been unsealed. The second stage was the level of the revered dragon. The third stage was to unseal the heaven-defying artifact. The fourth stage was the Genesis divine weapon that he had just learned from the little boy. Although he had never seen a Genesis divine weapon and did not know its true power, he could feel that if there was enough time and enough blood, the power of the slaughter zone should be able to reach this level. 5 days. 3 days. 2 days. Qin Feiyang had been walking in the sea area for a full 10 days. Ahead. A boundless land finally appeared in his line of sight. But the land was also full of devastation. The mountains and rivers were shattered, the vegetation was destroyed, and a tragic aura filled the air. On the broken ground, there were also a large number of corpses. Even this place was affected, Qin Feiyang murmured. The power of the unsealing of the heaven-defying divine artifact was really destructive. Fortunately, this was still the border of the Sky Dragon Sea. If it was in the divine continent, half of the continent would have been destroyed. It seemed that in the future, no matter what, he could not unlock the seal of the heaven-defying divine artifact in the divine continent. Divine continent, Qin Feiyang stopped in the air above the sea area, glancing at the continent in front of him, and murmured, "We're finally here." Whoosh! Taking a deep breath, Qin Feiyang activated the concealment technique, and his whole body immediately hid in the void, and then turned into a stream of light, flying toward the divine continent. The reason why he activated the concealment technique was that he was worried about the dragons. There was a high possibility that the dragons were hiding on the seaside. Dozens of breaths later, he finally approached the coast. But suddenly, he suddenly braked and stopped in the void, his eyes firmly locked on a huge rock. The huge rock was dozens of feet high, like a stone pillar, standing on the seaside. And on the top of the huge rock, there was a golden small beast. The little beast was shaped like a frog. Its entire body was covered with golden scales. It was lying on top of the huge rock like a human. It had one leg crossed over the other. There was even a green foxtail in its mouth. It was squinting its eyes. It looked quite content. "It's it." Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled slightly. That's right. It was the small beast that stole Chang Shui and sealed the ancient castle. Why was it here? Was it a coincidence? However, whether it was a coincidence or not, he could not be discovered by it. Although he had the divine moon jade pendant and activated the concealment technique, Qin Feiyang was still very careful. He slowly retreated to the sea behind, preparing to take a detour and enter the divine continent. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seemed to have discovered something again, and his hair suddenly stood on end. Because he was too nervous before, he did not notice that there was a divine dragon beside the huge rock. It was a black divine dragon, lying on the ground motionlessly. And taking a closer look, there was a bloody hole in between its eyebrows. It seems that it was killed by the small beast. It even dared to kill the divine dragon of the dragons. It is indeed a ruthless character. Qin Feiyang did not dare to stay for long, and sped up, retreating backward. Hey, hey, hey. Do you think Daddy Frog doesn't exist? Leaving without even saying goodbye? That's very rude. But at this moment, the lazy voice of the golden small beast sounded. Qin Feiyang was shocked. Is it talking to me? But it can't be. Now that I have the divine moon jade pendant and the concealment technique, no matter how powerful the golden small beast is, it can't discover me. It must be talking to someone else. Yes. That's it. He wanted to comfort himself, but the reality mercilessly destroyed his heart. Because there was no one else around except him. Whoosh! Immediately. He turned around without hesitation, using the walk formula, and fled into the air. So troublesome. The golden small beast shook its head, opened its eyes, got up and stretched, and looked up in the direction that Qin Feiyang fled. Its eyes were full of disdain. Boom! Following closely. Its little paw stretched out in the air. A formless mighty force immediately surged towards Qin Feiyang like a torrential current, setting off enormous waves that covered the sky. The concealment technique immediately collapsed. Qin Feiyang turned pale with fright, and his body flew uncontrollably toward the golden small beast along with the mighty force. His first thought was to enter the castle. But as soon as he thought of the strength of the small beast, he decisively dismissed this idea. Because once he entered the castle, the white-eyed wolf, Fire Lotus, and the others would also suffer. So it was better to stay outside and face the golden small beast alone. After a few seconds, Qin Feiyang staggered and fell on a huge rock, and the mighty force disappeared. After stabilizing his body, Qin Feiyang turned around and stared at the golden small beast, saying angrily, "What do you want to do?" The golden small beast held the green foxtail in its mouth, picking its nostrils and saying, "There's no deep hatred, why do you have to be so angry?" Qin Feiyang roared, "You sealed the castle, took away Chang Shui, and killed Big Cousin and the inner demons, and these are not deep hatred. Wait, wait." The golden small beast quickly waved its little claws and interrupted Qin Feiyang, saying, "Are you mistaken? The one who killed the inner demons was the ice dragon, not Lord Frog. Aren't you in cahoots with it?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. "Wrong, wrong, wrong. Lord Frog is not familiar with that little reptile at all, it's just licking my face all day long to curry favor with Lord Frog." The golden small beast said lightly. "I don't want to talk to you about these useless things, what do you want?" Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. "Guess." The golden small beast stood on the ground, a pair of small claws behind its back, looking at Qin Feiyang mockingly. "I don't think that you would be so kind as to send Chang Shui to me." Qin Feiyang said. "That's impossible. Once something is in Lord Frog's hands, you can never get it back. Of course, you can take it back. But it depends on whether you have the ability to do so." The golden small beast raised the corner of its mouth with a hint of playfulness. "Why are you so arrogant?" Qin Feiyang was furious. He raised his right foot and stepped on the golden small beast. "You're really going to attack?" The golden small beast was stunned. Then it waved its little claws, and Qin Feiyang immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. His body cracked, and he flew out like a meteorite, smashing into the deep sea. It was just an ordinary wave of its claws, and his body was almost torn apart. Just how strong was he? At this moment, Qin Feiyang was not only angry, but there was also a trace of fear in his heart. "You're overestimating yourself. The golden small beast looked down at the rolling waves, its golden eyes full of disdain. Dong! A few seconds later, Qin Feiyang rushed out of the deep sea with blood flowing out of his body. He stood above the sea and stared at the small beast gloomily. The golden small beast pursed its lips and said, "Actually, you should thank Lord Frog." Thank? Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He really couldn't think of what he should thank this bastard small beast for. Yes. If it weren't for Lord Frog showing mercy, you would have been dead long ago. How could you be alive now? So, you should thank Lord Frog for not killing you back then. The golden small beast said. When Qin Feiyang heard this, he was so angry that he couldn't even say a word. How could there be such a shameless bastard in the world? Forget it. Although you're ungrateful, Lord Frog can't bully you, right? After all, Lord Frog has always relied on virtue to win people over. The golden small beast shook its little head and said. Win people over with virtue? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He had never reasoned with him, and now he had the face to say that he would win people over with virtue? Oh my God! What kind of person was this? There should be a limit to how shameless he could be. Chapter 23:32. Looking at your eyes, you seem to be doubting my character. The golden small beast looked at him maliciously. You have to have a good character too. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. A little frog was talking about character with him. Wasn't this a joke? But he didn't dare to say it out loud. This golden small beast was eccentric and unpredictable. If he angered it, he wouldn't have a good ending. Don't beat around the bush. What's your purpose? Qin Feiyang was very impatient. What an impatient person. All right. 10 days ago, Lord Frog suddenly sensed that a seal had been broken. The golden small beast looked at him playfully. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. This was obviously referring to the seal of the ancient castle. The seal set by Lord Frog was broken by someone. What a disgrace. The golden small beast said again. What do you want to do? Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Was he going to seal the ancient castle again? What do I want to do? The golden small beast looked at Qin Feiyang speechlessly and said, Aren't you talking nonsense? Of course I have to get back my face. You can't do this. Qin Feiyang said angrily. Give Lord Frog a reason. The golden small beast was stunned and laughed. First of all, the ancient castle didn't threaten you. Second, we didn't offend you. Third, the seal was broken by the ancient castle bit by bit with its own ability. Now, what right do you have to seal it again? What's the difference between this and bullying? Qin Feiyang shouted angrily. It makes sense. The golden small beast nodded. Qin Feiyang frowned. He didn't believe that it would be so easy to persuade this shameless small beast. As expected. The small beast grinned and looked at Qin Feiyang. Although it makes sense, my face is more important. Boom. His voice fell. The small beast waved its paw, and a golden light instantly entered Qin Feiyang's glabella. You bastard! Qin Feiyang roared. Why don't you try cursing again? The golden small beast's eyes flashed coldly as it said, Do you believe that Grandpa Frog won't kill all of you? Qin Feiyang clenched his fists tightly. He would never doubt the words of the small beast. Nor would they doubt its ability. The grievance in his heart almost drove him crazy. Don't look like you want to eat me. This seal is the same as the previous one. It won't prevent you from entering the castle. But there is a difference. Last time, I only used 1/10 of my strength to seal the castle. This time, I used half of my strength. Which is half of my strength. If you can still break the seal, then Grandpa Frog will admit that you are indeed not bad, and will not seal it in the future. The small beast said. What? Qin Feiyang was dumbfounded. The seal last time only used 1/10 of its strength? I'll tell you one more time. The black dragon below just died not long ago. The small beast smiled at Qin Feiyang playfully, and then disappeared with the green foxtail in its mouth. Just died not long ago. Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked down at the black dragon. What did the small beast mean by that? Wait. Destiny contract. Every dragon would immediately sign a destiny contract with the ancestral dragon of their clan the moment they were born. For example, the Fire Dragon clan. If a baby dragon was born, it would immediately sign a destiny contract with the ancestral dragon of the Fire Dragon clan. As a result, the ancestral dragon of each clan could sense the life and death of their clansman through the destiny contract. In other words, the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan must have sensed the death of the Black Dragon in front of him. Perhaps, they were already on their way here. This bastard small beast. Qin Feiyang understood this point, and his eyes immediately lit up with monstrous anger. This was obviously trying to frame him. No. With his current relationship with the Dragon clan, even without the little golden beast, he would definitely be suspected of being the culprit. Wait. Just as Qin Feiyang was about to leave, he suddenly frowned. He remembered that 10 days ago, all the ancestral dragons were seriously injured by the ancient castle. The blonde and silver-haired youth were only left with fragmented divine souls. Such serious injuries should not be able to recover so quickly. In other words, the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan may have only sent members of other dragons to check. Could this be an opportunity to collect some interest? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and a very crazy idea rose in his mind. He glanced around and disappeared in a flash. Black Tortoise Realm. Fire Lotus was tending to the medicine field. Qin Feiyang walked over and said, "Lend me your axe again." "What are you going to do?" Fire Lotus raised her head and looked at him suspiciously. "Collect interest." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. "Then you have to be careful." Fire Lotus warned, took out the axe and handed it to Qin Feiyang. "Don't worry. I will act according to the circumstances." Qin Feiyang smiled, took the axe, left the Black Tortoise Realm, and appeared on the boulder again. "Why is there a black dragon?" The artifact spirit was surprised. Qin Feiyang briefly explained the situation. "I originally thought that after merging with the Black Tortoise Realm, with the strength of the ancient castle, it would be enough for you to run rampant in the divine continent. But I didn't expect that before I had time to be happy, I would be sealed again." The artifact spirit sighed regretfully. "That damn small beast, sooner or later I will make it pay the price." Qin Feiyang coldly scoffed. "It won't be that easy. If it wasn't lying, then the last time it sealed the ancient castle, it really only used 1/10 of its power. Then it's easy to imagine how terrifying its strength is." The artifact spirit said. "That's right. The reason it was able to break the seal this time was because of the golden sword. And at that time, the golden sword had already unsealed itself and fully awakened. In other words, small beast's 1/10 power is already comparable to a divine artifact that has unsealed itself. It's hard to imagine how strong it really is." Qin Feiyang said. 1/10 was already so terrifying, then what about 1/2? How could there be such a powerful existence in this world? This was completely beyond his imagination. "Forget it, don't think about it. I don't understand even if I think about it. Only when you reach its level will you be able to understand its true strength." The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang nodded, took a deep breath, and glanced at the mountains and rivers in front of him. The mountains and rivers were all destroyed, the field of vision was very wide, and there was no ideal hiding place. "Why don't we go to the ancient castle?" The artifact spirit suggested. Hiding in the ancient castle, whether it was hiding or attacking, it was very convenient. No. What if the dragon's princess and Long Zun also follow? Especially Long Zun. Mastering the power of the law of space, she can easily enter the ancient castle. Once she finds out that we are hiding in the ancient castle, it's tantamount to a turtle in a jar. So, we have to leave a way out for ourselves. Qin Feiyang whispered. No matter what he did now, he couldn't be the slightest bit careless. He had to be foolproof, otherwise, he would end up with his body crushed. He didn't want to die yet. He also didn't want to implicate White-Eyed Wolf, Fire Lotus, and the others. Qin Feiyang suddenly pointed to a broken mountain on the left and said, "Go to that mountain peak." "Up to you." The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang took a step and landed on the mountain peak, turning to look at the coast. This place was about half a mile away from the coast. A distance of half a mile, with his current cultivation, was only a step away. Besides, the one who would make a move later would not be him, but the axe. With the speed of the axe, taking advantage of the unprepared sneak attack, the other party might not even be able to react. But standing on the mountain peak, it was too conspicuous. Qin Feiyang walked to the edge of the cliff and looked down. Halfway up the mountain, he found a crack. This crack must have been caused by the power of the divine weapon 10 days ago. Qin Feiyang swooped down and entered the crack. Looking around, he was quite satisfied. The top, bottom, left, and right were all sealed, with only one entrance in front of him. As long as he hid here and didn't make a sound, coupled with the concealment of the divine moon jade pendant, as long as he wasn't seen by the dragons with his own eyes, he wouldn't be discovered. Then, Qin Feiyang stayed in the crack, restraining his aura, his eyes firmly locked onto the coast. Time passed by. Shwa. Finally, 3 figures appeared in the sky above the coast. They were 3 middle-aged men. The man standing in the middle was about 1.8 meters tall, with a thin body, a cold face, and a sharp light in his eyes. The other 2 were 2 big men, about 2 meters tall. They looked extremely strong and burly, like 2 small giants. The aura emitted by the 2 was also inferior to the thin middle-aged man. However, in Qin Feiyang's eyes, they were extremely powerful. Judging from their aura, they were definitely at the peak of the 9th heaven realm. As for the thin middle-aged man's aura, it was comparable to Hui's. Obviously, he was a half-step undying realm expert. The 3 of them looked around, and when they saw the dead black dragon below, their eyes suddenly became cold. It's really dead. Judging from the wound, it was killed in 1 blow. This Qin Feiyang's strength can't be underestimated. The thin middle-aged man called the 10th elder said in a deep voice. The 2 big men nodded. It seems that he has been hiding in this sea area for the past 10 days, but now, he may have already entered the divine land. Take its body and go back to report to Lord Ancestral Dragon. I, the elder, will be overseeing this place. The 10th elder said, a cold light flashing in his eyes. The 2 big men looked at each other. One of them said, 10th elder, if Qin Feiyang has really entered the divine land, it seems meaningless for you to stay here. The 10th elder said, it's just my guess that he has entered the divine land. Maybe he is still hiding in this sea area. Okay then. The 2 nodded and swooped down, sweeping toward the black dragon. Do it. At this moment, Qin Feiyang secretly shouted. The axe floating next to him immediately broke through the air like a bolt of lightning. Who is it? The 2 big men didn't react. However, the 10th elder immediately sensed the aura of the axe and let out a loud shout. The person who wants your life. The weapon spirit sneered, and the rust on the axe immediately fell off. Like colorful butterflies, it flooded the sky and surged toward the 3. Damn it, when the 10th elder heard this, he immediately cursed in his heart. That was right. Originally, he was already in despair. But when he heard that Qin Feiyang had a question to ask him, he couldn't help but have a glimmer of hope in his heart. Because as Qin Feiyang said, when the ancestral dragon sensed the death of the two black dragons through the fate contract, he would definitely immediately send stronger people to support. So, he pretended to answer, but in fact, he was just stalling for time. When the support arrived, not only could he escape, but he could also take down Qin Feiyang. Taking down Qin Feiyang would be a great merit. But he didn't expect Qin Feiyang to realize this so quickly. What should he do now? Although he was a half-step immortal realm expert, in the face of a heaven-defying divine artifact, and a heaven-defying divine artifact that could unseal itself at any time, he had no confidence at all. At the same time, when the artifact spirit heard Qin Feiyang's words, he immediately understood and released a destructive power, shattering the sky and slashing towards the 10th Elder. "I'll die with you." The 10th Elder's eyes trembled as he suddenly roared. Immediately, a destructive aura also rushed out of his body. Self-destruction. Qin Feiyang was shocked. He was a half-step immortal realm expert after all. Didn't he know how to struggle? But on second thought, he understood. In the face of a heaven-defying divine artifact, there was indeed no point in struggling. Because it was useless. No matter how he struggled, he would still die. But in the face of the 10th Elder's self-destruction, the artifact spirit didn't panic at all. Instead, he had a disdainful attitude. Clang! The axe shone brightly and instantly arrived. Boom! With a deafening explosion, the 10th Elder's body was torn apart in the void. Dragon blood dyed the sky red. "I swear, I won't let you go." A furious roar filled with hatred echoed in the air. Then, a beam of black light shot out from the shattered crown of the 10th Elder's head. It was a small dragon. It was only about half a meter long and its eyes were full of fear. That's right. This was the divine soul of the 10th Elder. As soon as the divine soul appeared, it flew away without looking back. "You actually want to run away in front of me? Are you daydreaming?" The artifact spirit laughed disdainfully and was about to kill. But at this moment, boom! An extremely terrifying dragon might descended upon this world with a loud bang. "It's Longzuan." Qin Feiyang was startled and hurriedly looked up, but he immediately let out a sigh of relief. The person who came wasn't Longzuan, but a middle-aged man in black with a black crown. He was like a king who had descended. His eyes were like torches and his hands were behind his back. His 7-foot-long body was like a sharp blade, emitting a shocking sharpness. When the 10th Elder saw this person, it was as if he had seen a life-saving straw. He flew toward the black-robed man while shouting, "Patriarch, save me!" Patriarch? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The Black Dragon clan, in addition to the ancestral dragon, had another patriarch. And the aura that this person emitted was even stronger than the 10th Elder's. It seemed that he was already a terrifying existence that surpassed the half-step immortal realm. Great, buy one get one free. The artifact spirit didn't take it to heart at all. What he meant was that he planned to kill the patriarch of the Black Dragon clan as well. "So it's you. I was wondering who had the guts to kill the people of the dragons." The black-robed man looked at Qin Feiyang and the axe with a strong cold light in his eyes. The 10th Elder's divine soul flew to the black-robed man's side and said, "Patriarch, be careful. The seal on that divine weapon will be unsealed at any time. Don't worry." Ancestral Dragon was afraid that there would be an accident before coming, so he gave the divine weapon to me. The black-robed man waved his hand. "You also brought a divine weapon." The 10th Elder's divine soul was startled and surprised. "Yes." The black-robed man nodded. Boom. Then, a monstrous divine might appeared like a volcanic eruption. Then, A black iron fan flew out of the black-robed man's body and floated in the air, emitting a dazzling light. When Qin Feiyang saw the iron fan, his pupils constricted. He had seen this thing before. It was indeed the ancestral dragon of the Black Dragon clan. The 10th elder was overjoyed. Looking at Qin Feiyang and the axe, he also became arrogant and said, "Your end is here." Humph! The artifact spirit snorted and immediately charged towards the black-robed man. The black-robed man glanced at the axe and then looked at Qin Feiyang, who was standing in the distance. There was not much joy on his face, but a trace of worry. The 10th elder urged, "Lord Patriarch, quickly exterminate him." "Shut up. Don't you know how Ancestral Dragon and the others were seriously injured?" The black-robed man secretly shouted. Hearing this, the great elder's expression suddenly froze. Then, a chill that could not be dissolved rose in his heart. That's right. This kid not only had a divine weapon, but also an ancient castle. And it was an ancient castle that was even more terrifying than a divine weapon. I will hold them back first. You go and inform Lord Dragon Sovereign immediately. Only Lord Dragon Sovereign has a way to deal with him. The black-robed man took out an interspatial ring and threw it to the divine soul of the 10th elder. Then he grabbed the iron fan and faced the axe. Yes. I have to inform Lord Dragon Sovereign immediately. The divine soul of the 10th elder glanced at Qin Feiyang and immediately grabbed the interspatial ring, took out a teleportation altar and quickly revived. Although he was only left with his divine soul, at his level of cultivation, he could easily revive the altar. To this, Qin Feiyang and the axe did not stop him. The axe had no time to split himself. Qin Feiyang did not have this ability. Just a wisp of the divine soul of the 10th elder was enough to kill him in an instant. As for the killing zone, it was too late to open it now. The most important thing now was not to chase after the 10th elder's divine soul, but to find a chance to escape. Otherwise, when Dragon Sovereign came, the situation would be even more dangerous. Damn small beast. Qin Feiyang could not help but hate the golden small beast. If it had not sealed the ancient castle, what was the patriarch of the Black Dragon clan? Wait. The small beast had sealed the ancient castle. Was it doing this to help the dragons? Because the changes in the ancient castle had posed a great threat to the dragons, it had to seal it again? In that case, was the small beast related to the dragons? Suddenly, he thought of Ice Dragon. Ice Dragon was also a divine dragon. Could it be one of the dragons? No. If the golden small beast and Ice Dragon were really in cahoots with the dragons, then why didn't they just kill him? Moreover, Ice Dragon had saved his life after he had opened the gate of reincarnation. What was the reason? Just as Qin Feiyang was pondering, the teleportation altar had been activated and the divine soul of the 10th elder immediately flew up. But at this moment, boom! Another powerful aura descended. Qin Feiyang was immediately awakened. He looked up and saw a man in black armor standing above the teleportation altar. He was covered in black armor and wore a black mask on his face. Only a pair of dark eyes, like a pair of eagle eyes, were shining with an incomparably sharp light. Moreover, the aura he exuded was not inferior to the patriarch of the Black Dragon clan. Who is it? Qin Feiyang was surprised. Could it be another patriarch of the dragons? It's you. But just as this thought came to his mind, the 10th elder exclaimed. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He looked at the divine soul of the 10th elder and saw that his expression was full of fear. What was going on? Why was he so scared? Could it be that he was not one of the dragons? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He turned his head to look at the man in black who was fighting with the axe and found that there was a trace of panic on his face. It seemed that this mysterious man in black armor was not one of the dragons. But if he was not one of the dragons, then which force did he belong to? Was he an enemy or a friend? Chapter 23-34. At the same time. The black armor man glanced at Fu Tu and the black-clothed man, then looked at Qin Feiyang. There was no fluctuation in his deep eyes. Immediately after, he took a step forward and grabbed the 10th Elder's divine soul. What do you want to do? The 10th Elder roared in horror. Kill you. The black armor man said indifferently. With a sudden clench of his big hand, the 10th Elder's soul suddenly shattered with a wail. The teleportation altar was also smashed into pieces by his foot. Qin Feiyang looked at this scene in horror. As an elder-level existence, he must have a very high status among the dragons. Even in this part of the divine Great Land, he might have great prestige. But this person did not hesitate to shatter the first elder's soul. Moreover, he did it in front of the Black Dragon Clan Patriarch. Isn't this tantamount to provoking the dragons? The revered dragons ruled China and the ancient world. Who would not be afraid of them? This person actually dares to be an enemy of the dragons. What is his background? Wait. Could he be one of the ancestors? Because as far as he knew, only the ancestors were fighting against the dragons in the ancient world. But he wasn't sure. Because he knew nothing about China. He couldn't tell whether this person was an enemy or a friend. After shattering the 10th Elder's soul, the black armor man was still like a pool of stagnant water. Swish. Suddenly, he stepped in front of Qin Feiyang. His dark eyes were like two sharp swords, sharp and threatening. Qin Feiyang instinctively retreated. The black armor man did not chase after him. He looked at Qin Feiyang indifferently and said, "Did you bring them?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. The black armor man said, "Demon ancestor, Dong Jingyang, Lin Yi." When Qin Feiyang heard it, a hint of joy crept up his face and asked, "Don't ask. You just need to answer my question." The black armor man said. Qin Feiyang was stunned. What a cold person. He nodded and said, "I brought them. Leave them to me." The black-armored man said. "Leave it to you?" Qin Feiyang frowned. What did he mean by that? "Hurry up," the black-armored man urged. He was a man of few words. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but become angry as he asked, "If I hand the Devil Ancestors group over to you, then what about me?" "I don't know." The black-armored man shook his head. "What does don't know mean?" Qin Feiyang said angrily. "This is the Ancestors' order. I'm just following orders." The black-armored man said. "Sovereign?" Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, "My ancestor?" The black-armored man nodded. "The ancestor only allowed you to take the devil ancestor and the others away?" Qin Feiyang asked again. "Yes." The black-armored man said. "Why?" The anger in Qin Feiyang's heart rose again. "I don't know." The black-armored man shook his head and answered mechanically. "You want to dismiss me with a mere, 'I don't know'? Let me tell you, if you don't tell me the truth today, I won't let you take them away." Qin Feiyang was furious. Why did he come all the way to the ancient world? Wasn't it to find the ancestor? Now that he had finally found them, they didn't care about him. Even people like Mu Tianyang and the devil ancestor were more important than him. This made him feel extremely unbalanced. "I'm just following orders. If you have any questions, you can ask the ancestor in the future. Don't make things difficult for me." The black-armored man was unmoved and was still so cold. Qin Feiyang's expression was uncertain. The black-armored man said, "The death of the 10th elder will alarm the ancestor. There's no time to delay." Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly, looked at the black-armored man, and asked, "Do you have proof?" The black-armored man waved his hand, and a jade pendant appeared. The jade pendant was half the size of a baby's palm, shaped like a divine dragon, and was purple-gold in color. "You should recognize this thing," the black-armored man said. Qin Feiyang took the jade pendant, looked at it carefully for a while, and nodded, yes. Then, he took out an identical jade pendant from his cosmos ring. The two jade pendants were inlaid together, and became a complete and flawless jade pendant. It was the double dragon pendant. He had obtained the twin dragon pendants from a jade artifact shop. According to the owner of the jade shop, the double dragon pendant had a magical power. Once separated, it could sense the location of the other party. So, Qin Feiyang gave one to the mermaid princess and kept one for himself. And at that time, he also used this double dragon pendant to formally confess to the mermaid princess. Speaking of this double dragon pendant, it was a token of love between him and the mermaid princess. He naturally wouldn't forget such an important thing. Similarly, the mermaid princess definitely wouldn't give this jade pendant to others. So, the black-armored man's identity should be no problem. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath, handed the jade pendant to the black-armored man, and said, "Remember to give it back to her." And the black-armored man put away the jade pendant. Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and four figures appeared. They were Demon Ancestor, Demon Dragon, Dong Xingyang, and Zhang Xiaoyang. The black-armored man glanced at Demon Ancestor and the other three, then looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Where is Lin Yi?" "Don't worry about her. She's doing better than us," Qin Feiyang said. "Okay." The black-armored man nodded. With a wave of his hand, Demon Ancestor and the other three disappeared immediately. Then, he turned around, and a fiery red bead appeared in his hand. It was as big as an adult's fist. A purple-gold divine dragon pattern surrounded the fire bead. As soon as this fire bead appeared, a destructive power immediately roared out. Boom! Immediately after, the black-armored man took the fire bead and charged toward the black-clothed man. This aura, Qin Feiyang stared at the battle sword in the black-armored man's hand with a hint of surprise in his eyes. The aura exuded by the fire bead made him feel very familiar. It seems to be, that's right. It was the heaven-defying artifact that he encountered when he fought with the fire dragon in the deepest part of the Sky Dragon Sea. It was just that at that time, this artifact turned into a scorching sun, and he couldn't see its true appearance. So until now, he knew that the ancestors' heaven-defying artifact looked like this. Boom! The black-armored man took the fire bead and charged into the battlefield. He repelled the axe with one palm and said, "Take Qin Feiyang and leave immediately." "Where to?" The artifact spirit was suspicious. "Anywhere," the black-armored man said without looking back. "Well, you take care." After the artifact spirit finished speaking, he turned around and rushed to Qin Feiyang. A five-colored divine light sprinkled, rolled up Qin Feiyang, and flew away like lightning. "Don't even think about it," the black-clothed man shouted, wanting to pursue. "With me here, do you still have a chance to chase after them?" The black-armored man grabbed the fire bead and slapped at the black-clothed man, a terrifying aura shattering in all directions. "You all deserve to die," the black-clothed man roared, and the iron fan blew up a pitch-black storm, blasting toward the fire bead. "Humph!" The black-armored man snorted expressionlessly, and the two heaven-defying artifacts collided. Although the seal was not broken, it was enough to destroy heaven and earth. The earth crazily cracked. Abyssal cracks spread toward the end of heaven and earth like a spider web. The sea also set off huge waves that covered the sky. In the distance, Qin Feiyang looked back in the direction of the coast with a trace of worry in his eyes. Don't worry. Since he dares to stay, he must have the confidence to escape. The artifact spirit comforted. I hope so. Qin Feiyang whispered and asked, where are we going next? You're asking me. Who should I ask? I know nothing about the divine great land. The artifact spirit was speechless. Qin Feiyang smiled bitterly. Wasn't this like a headless fly? After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang said, then let's go find someone first and understand the situation of the divine land before making the next step of the plan. Okay. The artifact spirit responded and was silent for a while before asking, do you have a problem with your ancestor? Qin Feiyang sighed and said, it would be a lie to say no. According to my understanding of him, I think he should have other reasons for doing this. The artifact spirit guessed. You know him? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Of course. Back then, I almost died in battle for him. How can I not know him? The artifact spirit said. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and smiled bitterly, I was negligent and forgot about this. After that, Qin Feiyang asked, then tell me, why did my ancestor do this? This is his idea. How would I know? But I know one thing, he will definitely not harm you. The artifact spirit said. I know this too. Qin Feiyang was speechless. In short, don't think so much now. Think about how to establish a foothold in the divine land first. The artifact spirit said. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded and lowered his head to ponder. On the coast. The black-clothed man and the black-armored man had separated. The black-armored man looked at the black-clothed man and said, you know, you can't kill me. Yes. I really can't kill you. But the death of the 10th elder must have alarmed the ancestral dragon. So now, I just need to hold you back and wait for the arrival of the ancestral dragon. The black-clothed man said. The black-armored man said, I'm afraid the ancestral dragon has no time to care about this now. What do you mean? The black-clothed man raised his eyebrows. All the ancestral dragons have been seriously injured by the ancient castle. Now, except for you, there is only the ancestral dragon. What do you think will happen if the ancestral dragon leads people to the ancestral land of the dragons at this time? The black-armored man said, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. What? The black-clothed man was shocked and asked, Qin Batian brought people to our ancestral land? Yes. The ancestral dragon and I split up. I came to find Qin Feiyang. The ancestral dragon went to your ancestral land. Of course. With the ancestral dragon's current strength, it is impossible for him to be the ancestral dragon's opponent. But I believe that the ancestral dragon can still destroy your ancestral land and greatly damage the vitality of the dragons. So the ancestral dragon has no time to care about you now. The black-armored man said. Damn it. The black-clothed man cursed and immediately opened an altar to leave. You really believe it? The black-armored man was stunned, shook his head and mocked, what an idiot. Obviously. There was no such thing at all. This was just his escape plan. Then, the black-armored man also opened an altar and quickly left. Not long after the black-armored man left, probably less than 10 breaths, two figures descended in the sky above the coast. It was the ancestral dragon and the dragon's princess. Where is he? The mother and daughter glanced around, their faces full of suspicion. The dragon's princess frowned and said, the battle fluctuations are still there. They should have just left. What's going on? Didn't the black dragon's patriarch bring a heaven-defying artifact? Did he let Qin Feiyang go? The ancestral dragon clenched his hands, and a bone-chilling cold current surged out from his body. Chapter 23:35. Swish. Not long after. A figure appeared. It was the man in black who had returned. After discovering that he had been deceived, he immediately returned, wanting to settle the score with the black-armored man. In fact, he had already thought that the black-armored man would definitely take the opportunity to leave. But he still had a trace of luck in his heart. However, when he landed on the coast again, he saw Long Zun and Princess Dragons. At that moment, he became nervous and bowed, "Greetings to Lord Long Zun, greetings to your highness. Where's Qin Feiyang?" Long Zun turned around and looked at the man in black. His eyes, which were covered by mist, flickered with an astonishing cold light. "Lord, I'm sorry, The man in black knelt in front of Long Zun, his face full of panic. "Speak!" Long Zun coldly shouted. The man in black trembled and quickly told him what had happened, not daring to hide anything. Because he knew Long Zun's temper too well. Once he lied and was found out by Long Zun, even if he was the patriarch of the Black Dragon clan, he would still die. No matter who pleaded, it was useless. You were deceived by him just like that. Princess Dragons was stunned. "I'm stupid. Please forgive me, Lord Long Zun, your highness." The man in black was terrified. "You're really stupid. Although the ancestral dragons are seriously injured, Qin Batian dares to kill our clan. Trash." Long Zun was furious and slapped the man in black's face. The man in black was sent flying by the slap. His face was lacerated and blood flowed out. "Lord, please spare my life." But in this regard, the man in black did not dare to complain at all. He quickly got up and, ignoring his injuries, ran to Long Zun and knelt down, kowtowing and begging for mercy. Long Zun coldly said, "We dragons don't need trash." When the man in black heard this, his body trembled violently. He quickly looked at Princess Dragons and said, "Your Highness, please help me." Princess Dragons glanced at him and looked at Long Zun. "Mother," he was confused for a moment, "that's why he was deceived by the other party. Please forgive him this time." Long Zun remained silent. Princess Dragons continued, "Besides, he was also concerned about the safety of the clan, so it's understandable." The black-robed man knelt at the side with his head lowered, feeling extremely uneasy. "All right." Long Zun remained silent for a long time before he finally spoke, "I'll let you off this time, but if there's a next time." The black-clothed man was overjoyed. He hurriedly said, "Don't worry, my lord. There definitely won't be a next time." "That better be the case." Long Zun snorted coldly. The black-clothed man looked at Princess Dragons and said gratefully, "Thank you, your highness, for saving my life." Princess Dragons smiled and said, "It's fine. Get up quickly. I still have something to ask you." The black-clothed man stood up, his legs somewhat weak. It could be seen that he was truly frightened. The dragon princess asked, "When you were fighting, did the castle appear?" "No." The black-clothed man shook his head. "No." Princess Dragons frowned. If he had such a powerful divine artifact, why not use it? "Are you sure?" Long Zun asked. "Yes." The black-clothed man nodded. "Mother, there's no need to doubt this. Because if the castle appeared, he would definitely have turned into a corpse." Princess Dragon said. Long Zun nodded, feeling extremely puzzled in his heart. With Qin Feiyang's hatred for the dragons, once there was a chance, he would never show mercy. But why didn't he use the castle? Afraid of harming the innocent? But no matter how he looked at it, this child wasn't such a kind and benevolent person. Because every time he opened the slaughter domain, he had to slaughter countless creatures. It could be said that this child was more cold-blooded and cruel than anyone else. Princess Dragons pondered for a while, looked at the black-clothed man, and asked, "Where did they escape to?" "Over there." The black-clothed man pointed in the direction where Qin Feiyang and Fu Tu escaped. "They have already entered the divine land." Princess Dragons looked over, pondered for a moment, shook her head and sighed, "It's not easy to find him now. But no matter what, we have to find him. In short, he must die." Long Zun said. The castle's threat to the dragons was too great. As long as she didn't get rid of it, her heart wouldn't be at peace. "Mother, leave this matter to me. I will think of a way to find him. Princess Dragons was silent for a while, looked at Long Zun and said. You. Long Zun's tone was filled with doubt. Princess Dragons hugged Long Zun's arm and said coquettishly, just believe in your daughter this time, I promise to find him. Okay. But for safety's sake, I have to leave a killing intent in your sea of consciousness. Long Zun said. Okay. Princess Dragons nodded. Long Zun waved his hand, and a ray of milky white divine light immediately swept into Princess Dragons's forehead. Immediately. Long Zun looked at the black-clothed man again, and said coldly, immediately inform all the patriarchs to wait for the princess's orders. Yes. The black-clothed man respectfully replied. Princess Dragons looked at Long Zun, then raised her head to look in the direction that Qin Feiyang had fled, and muttered, just you wait, new and old debts, I will find you to settle them all. 5 days later. In the sky above a certain mountain range. A dark-skinned young man flashed past like a bolt of lightning and landed on top of a mountain. He was about 1.7 meters tall, with his upper body exposed. He wore a pair of black pants, and his muscles were bulging, emitting a valiant aura. That's right. He was Qin Feiyang. The axe had already returned to Fire Lotus's side. He had also changed his appearance once again. Along the way, all he saw were tragic scenes. The earth was shattered, and life was in a terrible situation. For 5 whole days, he didn't meet a single living person. However, when he arrived here, it began to gradually improve. The mountains and rivers were still full of devastation, but from time to time, one could see a large green tree. In some places, there was also grass growing tenaciously. This meant that the battle that day had almost ended here. Qin Feiyang stood on top of the mountain, looking at the mountains and rivers in front of him. Although he still couldn't find a single living person within his sight, but further away, he could already see a green land. There must be people there. Even if there was no one, there must be fierce beasts. Retracting his gaze, Qin Feiyang lowered his head again, looking at the divine moon jade pendant on his neck. This was something that had to be concealed. Because Long Zun and Princess Dragons had both seen the divine moon jade pendant. If they saw it, they would definitely be able to guess his identity from the divine moon jade pendant. After thinking about it, Qin Feiyang took out a black robe from the Qianquan ring and put it on. The divine moon jade pendant was also hidden under the robe. I hope I don't meet dragons again. Muttering, Qin Feiyang rose into the air, turned into a stream of light, and continued to rush forward. About half an hour later, he finally entered a green mountain. The trees were luxuriant with branches and leaves, towering into the sky. The thick vines were entwined like dragons. On the ground, there were weeds and bushes everywhere. In the mountain, there was also a river dozens of meters wide. The turbulent river water flowed downwards. And in the mountains and forests, he could already see many fierce beasts. There were lions. There were cheetahs. There were giant tigers. There were also flying insects and poisonous snakes. In the sky, he could also see huge fierce birds from time to time. This place was completely different from the places Qin Feiyang had been before. It was full of vitality and vitality. Don't say it. These days, he had been facing the dry sea area and the lifeless and hole-riddled earth all day long. Now, when he saw the vibrant scene in front of him, Qin Feiyang was still a little excited. That kind of mood was like a desert that had been dry for a long time and finally welcomed rain. Chirp. Suddenly, a sharp cry broke Qin Feiyang's happy mood. He saw a black falcon rushing out of the mountains below. When it spread its wings, it was hundreds of feet long, covering the sky and the sun. Its whole body exuded an astonishing fierce aura. That pair of enormous eyes stared at Qin Feiyang with a frightening ominous glint in them. A divine lord, Qin Feiyang whispered, a little surprised. He didn't expect that the first creature he encountered after entering the divine land was a fierce beast at the level of a divine lord. It seemed that the overall strength of the divine land was much stronger than that of the north region and the other three regions. The falcon stared at Qin Feiyang as if it was looking at its prey. As the two enormous wings flapped, a violent gust of wind blew in this area. "I'm afraid you found the wrong target." Qin Feiyang looked at the falcon and suddenly smiled. A wisp of blood appeared in his palm. A monstrous murderous aura suddenly swept in all directions like a storm. Kill formula. The falcon was also shocked by the sudden murderous aura. It quickly stopped in the void and looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. But Qin Feiyang suddenly frowned. He clenched his 5 fingers, and the wisp of blood immediately dissipated. Ever since he entered the ancient world, the enemies he faced were all beyond what he could deal with. So all along, when facing enemies, he had basically used the 6-word divine formula or the power of heaven-defying divine weapons. As a result, he had almost forgotten about the Dragon God technique, Guiyuan sword technique, Sun and Moon eclipse, Fire Phoenix technique, 3,000 incarnations, and so on. The 6-word divine formula and heaven-defying divine weapons were indeed very powerful, but these were all life-saving means. He didn't have to always rely on them. So he made a last-minute decision. From this moment on, unless it was a matter of life and death, he was determined not to use these trump cards. No matter how big the crisis was, he had to rely on his own ability to solve it and fight. In this way, not only could he train himself and strengthen his combat awareness, but he could also slowly improve the grade of other divine formulas. For example, the Dragon God technique was now a peak-level divine formula. It couldn't be stuck at the peak-level divine formula for the rest of its life. It could still continue to improve. For example, the legendary level. For example, a level higher than the legendary level. Perhaps one day, it could even reach the level of the 6-word divine formula. And all of this was just wishful thinking. He couldn't think of it. He needed to work hard. Looking at the falcon again. It stared at Qin Feiyang with a trace of suspicion in its fierce eyes. What was going on? Why did that murderous aura suddenly disappear? Could it be that it was an illusion earlier? The murderous aura actually didn't exist at all. With that thought, the fierce light in the falcon's eyes appeared again. But it didn't let down its guard. It tentatively attacked and pounced at Qin Feiyang. Chapter 23:36. But even if it was just a test, he did not hold back at all. The 2 huge eagle claws were like sharp blades, emitting a sharp aura that could tear the sky and earth apart. Even if I don't activate the 6-word divine art, it's still easy to kill a mere divine lord like you. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. Clang! Accompanied by a loud noise, 2 flaming sword shadows appeared out of nowhere. Guiyuan sword technique. As Qin Feiyang waved his hand, the 2 sword shadows cut through the sky and collided with the eagle claws. Boom! Immediately, the falcon was blasted away, and a wound appeared on its 2 claws, with blood gushing out. However, the 2 sword shadows were also shattered. After all, it's only a middle-grade divine art, not as strong as my physical body. Qin Feiyang shook his head, took a step forward, and directly raised his fist and smashed at the falcon. Too arrogant. Too arrogant. The falcon roared. The physical quality of a beast was naturally higher than that of a human. But the person in front of it actually wanted to fight with it. Wasn't this courting death? Since it wanted to die, then it would not be polite. Boom! It immediately rushed towards Qin Feiyang, and the bleeding eagle claws shattered a large part of the void. Qin Feiyang didn't retreat at all and punched out. Clang! When the fist landed on the falcon's sharp claws, an ear-piercing metallic sound was actually produced. The pair of eagle claws seemed to be made of divine iron. however. No matter how hard the eagle claws were, they could not withstand the power of Qin Feiyang's punch. With a crack, one of the eagle claws shattered on the spot. The falcon screamed in pain, flapped its wings, and frantically fled for its life. Its fierce eyes were filled with horror. But more than that, it was in disbelief. How could a human's physical strength be so terrifying? One must know that Qin Feiyang's current physical strength was comparable to a high-grade divine artifact. Even if it was a supreme-grade divine artifact, he dared to fight with his bare hands. As for Falcon's cultivation level, it was only a small realm higher than his. Even though his physical body was naturally stronger than a human's, he could not withstand the punch. It did not dare to continue fighting. Its body quickly shrank, and with a dive, it disappeared into the forest below. He escaped just like that. Qin Feiyang was stunned. In any case, it was a ferocious bird by nature. How could it not have a temper? However, this confrontation made him even more certain of his previous thoughts. He no longer relied on the power of the 6 words divine formula and the heaven-defying divine artifact. Just like the Guiyuan sword technique. What was the use of a mid-tier divine formula? Even in the northern region, no one would take a second look at a divine incantation of this level, let alone in the divine land. Therefore, it was necessary to raise the grade of these godly techniques. Otherwise, when facing the dragons in the future, these godly techniques would not be of any use. How unlucky. It wasn't easy to meet a human. I didn't expect him to be so strong. In the forest below, a palm-sized bird flapped its wings as it flew forward while complaining. It was that falcon. The shattered claws were still bleeding. I must take revenge for this. Falcon lowered its head and looked at its claws. The hostility in its eyes grew stronger. Then, it passed through the forest and flew straight toward a giant peak in the distance. The peak of the mountain was covered with rocks and weeds. On one side of the peak, there was a sparkling and translucent small tree. The small tree was about half a meter tall and had 3 branches. The leaves on them were extremely small. But the strange thing was, whether it was the trunk or the leaves, they were all black and gray. And at the top of the 3 branches, there were 3 black and gray fruits. The 3 fruits were about the size of a pigeon's egg. They were surrounded by wisps of black and gray mist, looking rather mysterious. Beside the small tree, there were 2 falcons. One was golden. The other was white. They were not big in size, but the aura they exuded was much stronger than the black falcon that Qin Feiyang had encountered before. They lay in the grass beside the small tree, with their heads buried, as if they were taking a nap. Big brother, second brother, I was bullied. Suddenly, with a piercing sound, the black falcon flew to the peak of the mountain and shouted at the golden and white falcons. The 2 falcons opened their eyes and looked at the black falcon suspiciously. When they saw the shattered claws, their eyes immediately shone with a fierce light. Who bullied you? They flew in front of the black falcon and said in a deep voice. The black falcon turned around and scanned the void. Soon, it saw a dark-skinned young man in black flying over. That's right. He was Qin Feiyang. But he didn't know that the black falcon had also come here. The black falcon raised its wings, pointed at Qin Feiyang, and said resentfully, "It's him. There's actually a human. Since half a month ago, when that terrifying wave of air hit, I haven't seen a single human. I can finally eat meat." The golden falcon and the white falcon were very excited. It was like seeing a delicious cake. Even his saliva was dripping out. The golden falcon asked, "Third brother, how is his strength?" "His physical body is very strong and his strength is also very terrifying. My claws were shattered by his punch. But his divine technique is very weak. It's only a mid-tier divine technique." The black falcon said. The golden falcon's eyes immediately showed a trace of disdain when it heard that. It said, "No matter how strong he is, can he be stronger than us? That's right. I'm a perfect Sir God, and Big Brother is a perfect Sir God. Isn't it more than enough to kill him?" The white falcon also said. The black falcon said with murderous intent, "Then quickly kill him. I want to eat him alive. Big Brother, you don't have to do anything. Just watch." The white falcon looked at the golden falcon and said, "End it quickly. Don't give him a chance to escape." The golden falcon said, "Don't worry. Isn't it easy to kill a human who's just a low-tier Sir God?" The white falcon had a look of disdain. Then, it flapped its wings and flew toward Qin Feiyang. "Big Brother, I'll go help," the black falcon said and chased after the white falcon. Helping was fake. Revenge was the real thing. Looking at Qin Feiyang again. As he sped forward, he scanned the area below. There were quite a number of ferocious beasts in this forest, and they were basically at the level of War God and Sir God. However, none of the ferocious beasts could surpass the black falcon. It seemed that the black falcon should be the overlord of this mountain range. But suddenly, he was stunned and hurriedly looked up. He saw a white falcon breaking through the sky like lightning. Not bad, a perfect Sir God. However, when he saw the black falcon chasing after him, he immediately understood. It turned out that he had found a helper and came to take revenge. In that case, the black falcon was not the overlord of this mountain range. "Human, how dare you bully Third Brother? You really don't know what's good for you." The white falcon was full of hostility. It shouted fiercely and then charged toward Qin Feiyang. "You still call me brother?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Wait. Third Brother? Since the black falcon was Third Brother, there should be another one." He immediately lowered his head and scanned the mountains below. Soon, he saw the golden falcon at the top of the mountain. Perfect Sir God. Immediately, his pupils shrank. It turned out that the real overlord was there. Suddenly, he noticed the half-meter-tall tree next to the golden falcon. It seemed a little familiar. But he didn't have time to think too much. The white falcon charged toward him with a rolling aura. Qin Feiyang's eyes turned cold and he directly threw a punch. Boom! At that moment, the white falcon was sent flying. Qin Feiyang also took a few steps back. His arm was a little numb. The white falcon looked at Qin Feiyang in shock. Even a perfect Sir God like it could be sent flying. This power, this physical body, it was too strong. The black falcon also opened its eyes wide in anger. It was unbelievable to the extreme. It thought that second brother would be able to crush the other party easily, but it didn't expect that the result was a tie. It seemed that it had underestimated this human. The more I look at it, the more familiar it is. However, Qin Feiyang didn't pay any attention to them. His mind was constantly thinking about the information about that small tree. Suddenly, a light flashed. Fire Lotus, quickly go and look at the pill scripture. See if there is any record of a black-gray tree. Qin Feiyang hurriedly transmitted his voice. Okay. Fire Lotus responded and quickly ran into Qin Feiyang's cultivation room. It was also at this moment. The white falcon came back to its senses and suddenly shouted, "Third brother, let's attack together." The black falcon nodded. Boom! At that moment, their bodies swelled with the wind. In an instant, they were like two towering mountains. Divine Art, Black Moon Slash. Divine Art, Ice Seal. Following closely. The two falcons roared in unison, and two divine powers suddenly surged out. The next moment, A pitch-black waning moon and a snow-white frost appeared, carrying a world-destroying divine power, and charged toward Qin Feiyang. Divine art. Qin Feiyang was stunned. These two beasts actually had divine arts. And judging from the aura, it was a high-grade divine art. Humans who overestimate themselves, after you die, this emperor will eat all of your flesh and blood, without leaving a single bit behind. The black falcon laughed sinisterly. Who is the one overconfident? Qin Feiyang's face flashed with a cold light, and with a wave of his hand, a wave of blood rolled out. This was actually the power of the purple-gold divine dragon. But because of the elixir given to him by his ancestor, it became like this. Not only did its appearance change greatly, even the aura of the divine dragon disappeared without a trace. As soon as the divine power appeared, a blood-red divine seal appeared in an instant. Divine Dragon Seal. This is, the white falcon was stunned. This was a mid-grade divine art. To hell with it. This aura was even stronger than a perfect divine art. It was obviously a peak-level divine art. As you said, you dare to cause trouble for me, you really don't know what death is. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. The divine dragon seal immediately broke through the air, like a mountain, and blasted toward the black moon. Clang! Boom! The black moon shattered on the spot, and the black falcon suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Then, the divine dragon seal blasted toward the frost. The two suddenly exploded in the void, creating a terrifying wave of air. The white falcon was immediately sent flying, and blood spurted out of its mouth. And Qin Feiyang was also forced to retreat, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. He touched the blood at the corner of his mouth, then looked down at the blood on his finger, and found it hard to accept. The white falcon actually hurt him. Chapter 23:37. One had to know. In the past, even in the face of an immortal, he had the strength to fight. And now, a perfected immortal lord actually injured him. But suddenly, his expression was slightly stunned, and then a bitter smile crept onto his face. In the past, he was indeed powerful, but that was all because of the six-word divine formula. To be exact, it was not that he was powerful, but the six-word divine formula was powerful. And the dragon god technique was only a peak divine formula. Compared to the six-word divine formula, it was worlds apart. He was used to the previous fighting style, and now that there was a sudden change, he was still not used to it. Although the dragon god technique was a peak divine formula, his cultivation was only that of a low-level immortal lord. And although the white falcon's divine formula was only superior, its cultivation was two small realms higher than Qin Feiyang's. In other words, Qin Feiyang's advantage in divine formula was evened out by the disadvantage in cultivation. Therefore, the strength of the two was naturally on par. Without the six-word divine formula, without the heaven-defying divine weapon, my strength is only so little. Qin Feiyang's heart was extremely bitter. Fortunately, he woke up in time. Otherwise, if he continued to rely on the six-word divine formula and the heaven-defying divine weapon, he would only become worse and worse. However, under normal circumstances, it was already very shocking for a low-level immortal lord to be able to fight with a perfected immortal lord and not be at a disadvantage. Qin Feiyang was just used to the previous fighting style and felt that it was a matter of course to fight with someone of a higher level, so he did not realize this point. Of course, everyone's pursuit was different. Some people were already very satisfied to be able to dominate the same level. Some people were very happy to be able to fight with someone of a higher level. And Qin Feiyang pursued perfection. He wanted to do better than others. Especially if others could not do it, he wanted to do it even more. Good luck. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands. Whether it was the dragon god technique or other divine formulas, it would be upgraded to the legendary level sooner or later. At that time, his strength would undoubtedly increase by several times. Third brother, what's wrong with you? He has a peak divine formula, and you only tell me that he only has a mid-level divine formula. At the same time, the white falcon glared at the black falcon, almost going berserk. I don't know either. He didn't use this kind of divine formula just now. The black falcon also felt quite wronged. The white falcon glared at him and said to him, this person seems to be pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. Then let's retreat. The black falcon immediately, the immortal used to run. The white falcon glared angrily at the black falcon and quickly fled to the top of the mountain. Immortal Lord, immortal Lord, immortal Lord to immortal Lord to immortal immortal to immortal to immortal immortal to immortal 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 Lord. The golden falcon was also looking at Qin Feiyang with a hint of surprise in its eyes. The immortal 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 to immortal immortal of immortal 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 of immortal. Black Eagle escaped to the peak of the mountain, looked at the golden falcon and said, Boss, this person is not simple. The white falcon also landed beside the golden falcon and said, I underestimated him. You'll have to do it. The golden falcon glanced at them and suddenly soared into the sky. It stared at Qin Feiyang and said disdainfully, a mere ant of a small success divine sovereign dares to come to this emperor's territory to cause trouble. Are you tired of living? It doesn't matter if I'm tired of living or not. What's most important is that if you dare to attack me again, all three of you will die today. Qin Feiyang said. Arrogant. Then let me see if you have the ability to do so. The golden falcon soared into the sky. At the same time, its palm-sized body expanded in the wind. In the blink of an eye, a giant eagle that was thousands of feet tall appeared at the peak of the clouds. Its aura shook the heavens. Come up and accept your death. It was like a beast god that was looking down at Qin Feiyang from above as it shouted. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Qin Dage, I've found it. But then, Fire Lotus's voice was heard. Tell me. Qin Feiyang was startled and quickly said. Let me confirm it first. Are the fruits and leaves of the small tree also black and gray? Fire Lotus asked. Qin Feiyang looked down at the tree in the middle of the mountain and said, yes. What's he looking at? Don't tell me he's eyeing these three fruits. The black falcon and the white falcon noticed Qin Feiyang's gaze and immediately stood in front of the tree, staring at Qin Feiyang vigilantly. Hearing Qin Feiyang's answer, Fire Lotus seemed a bit excited and said, that's right. That tree is called the Nirvana Divine Tree. The Nirvana Divine Tree, Qin Feiyang murmured. The Nirvana Divine Tree is a rare treasure of heaven and earth. It's extremely rare and can only be found by chance. And the fruit of the Nirvana Divine Tree is called the Nirvana Divine Fruit. It's the main ingredient for refining the Nirvana Divine Pill. Fire Lotus said. Yes. It's the Nirvana Divine Pill. Qin Feiyang said excitedly. When he broke through to the monarch god level, he opened the alchemy scripture and read it, but because Shengguan Fenglan had something to do at that time, he didn't read it carefully. However, although it was just a casual glance, it left an impression in his mind. That was why he felt familiar when he saw the tree, but he wasn't sure. But he didn't expect it to really be the Nirvana Divine Tree. And there were three fruits that were about to ripen. This was simply a blessing from the heavens. Because the Nirvana Divine Pill was the pill that opened the door to the next level of potential. It could be said that, in his eyes, the Nirvana Divine Fruit was more important than any divine item. He had to get it. What are you doing? Didn't you hear me tell you to come up and accept your death? Are you too scared to walk? The golden falcon shouted, looking extremely impatient. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang took a step forward, rushed into the clouds, looked at the golden falcon, and said, I'll give you a chance, give me the Nirvana Divine Tree, and I'll spare your lives. Haha, the golden falcon immediately laughed out loud. That was mocking Qin Feiyang's stupidity and ignorance. Looks like I really have to do it. I'll also take the opportunity to train myself. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent, his divine power roared, and the divine dragon seal appeared again. In front of me, the peak divine art is just a joke. The golden falcon's aura erupted, and a golden divine power emerged. With a clang, a huge eagle claw appeared. The eagle claw was more than 1,000 feet long, and its divine power could destroy the world. It was as if it was cast in gold, emitting a dazzling light. Shatter for me! The golden falcon roared. That huge eagle claw was like a huge mountain, smashing towards the divine dragon seal. With a loud bang, the divine dragon seal shattered on the spot. Qin Feiyang's body trembled, and a mouthful of blood gushed out from his throat. His face was also pale. He looked at the eagle claw in shock. This was actually transformed from a perfect divine art. A perfect divine art, coupled with the cultivation of a perfect divine lord, this was far beyond the scope of what he could deal with. I'll also give you a chance. Give me this peak divine art, and I'll spare your life. The golden falcon looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain. On the mountain peak below, the black falcon and the white falcon also sneered. Instead, you're starting to rob me? Qin Feiyang was stunned. The golden falcon said contemptuously, is the divine art more important, or is your life more important? I believe you know without me saying it. Don't be too arrogant. Qin Feiyang shouted. Suddenly, behind him, one figure after another appeared. These people, whether it was their appearance or their aura, were exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. 3,000 incarnations. Back then, when he sparred with Frenzy on Turtle King Island, he raised his 3,000 incarnations to small success. In other words, now he could summon a total of 1,000 incarnations. And now, he didn't hold back. In less than 3 breaths, 1,000 incarnations all appeared, standing neatly in the void behind him. The terrifying aura condensed together, almost piercing through the sky. Mere incarnations, you dare to show off your incompetence. The golden falcon's eyes were full of disdain. Incarnations? The corner of Qin Feiyang's mouth lifted, and he said indifferently, prove to it, are you all incarnations? The corners of the 1,000 incarnations' mouths were also raised, full of ridicule. Boom! In an instant, 1,000 divine dragon seals appeared. The aura emitted by each divine dragon seal was not weaker than the divine dragon seal that Qin Feiyang had evolved. Kill! All the incarnations shouted, and their killing intent shook the sky. Immediately after, the densely packed divine dragon seals turned into a meteor shower as they majestically shot towards the golden falcon. That terrifying aura shattered the sky, like a broken mirror. The golden falcon still had a look of disdain. The falcon's claws shook the clouds and blasted towards the divine dragon seals. Boom! Crack! One by one, the divine dragon seals were shattered. But the golden falcon's gaze became heavy. Because at the first moment of the confrontation, it sensed that something was wrong. The divine dragon seals that these incarnations evolved were not weaker than Qin Feiyang's original body. Could it be that these were not incarnations, but the original body? But how was that possible? Everything in the world only had one original body. Boom! Almost half of the 1,000 divine dragon seals had been shattered by the giant falcon's claws. Seeing this, the golden falcon could not help but breathe a sigh of relief, and the contempt in its eyes reappeared. It looked at Qin Feiyang and said, so what if these incarnations of yours are different? They are still ants. This is just the beginning. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Boom! Wisps of God force, including his true self, burst out of his body like a surging tide. Clang! The next moment, one by one, the statues appeared. Each statue was incomparably tall, blood-red, and their formation could not be seen clearly. Each of them held a battle sword in their hands. The battle swords also seemed to be condensed from blood. From afar, it looked like gods and demons had descended to the world. Blood light, illuminating the world. The third move, Supreme Ruler. After the bloodline power disappeared, the third move, Supreme Ruler, had undergone a tremendous change. Even the broken sword had become a complete battle sword. If one did not know about this statue in advance, they would never be recognized as the third move of the Divine Dragon technique. However, although the appearance had changed, the power was not reduced in the slightest. And all along, the third move, Supreme Ruler, had been stronger than the first and second moves. Take now for example. The power of the third move had already surpassed the pinnacle level of divine techniques and was on the verge of reaching the legendary level. In short, the power of the third move was between the pinnacle level and the legendary level. In other words, it had already surpassed the pinnacle level, but had not truly entered the legendary level. Chapter 23:38. The 1,100 statues charged toward the giant eagle claw with monstrous power. This, the golden falcon was dumbfounded. After continuous exchanges, it could already confirm that the strength of these clones was exactly the same as Qin Fei Yang's original body. What was going on? Why were the clones so strong? Boom! The statues attacked the giant eagle claw continuously. Crack! The statues collapsed one by one. Even if the third move was stronger than the first and second moves, the golden falcon's cultivation was in front of it. And the giant eagle claw was also evolved from a perfect divine art. Therefore, it was difficult for the third move to turn the situation around. However, Qin Fei Yang was not discouraged. The 1,000 clones, including himself, continued to evolve the Guiyuan sword technique, Eclipse Moon, Fire Phoenix technique, Divine Dragon technique, Return to Ruins technique. At that moment, the sky was full of divine arts flying around. The terrifying aura shocked all directions. After a few hundred breaths of hard battle, the giant eagle claw collapsed. The golden falcon spat out a mouthful of blood, but the evil aura around it was even stronger than before. A mere low-level divine lord actually heard it. Unforgivable. Boom! Divine power roared. Accompanied by terrifying divine power, two giant eagle claws suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Qin Fei Yang already found it difficult to deal with one giant claw, let alone two. The pressure multiplied. Under the bombardment of the two giant claws, the divine arts that he and his 1,000 clones had evolved were constantly collapsing and disintegrating. His injuries were getting worse and worse. But at this moment, he seemed to be numb. Not only did he turn a blind eye to his injuries, but he was also not afraid of the two giant eagle claws at all. Although his eyes were weak, he seemed extremely calm. He continued to evolve the divine arts just like that. The same went for the 1,000 clones. What's going on? The golden falcon also gradually discovered this abnormality, and a trace of suspicion crept into its eyes. Clang! All of a sudden, Qin Fei Yang waved his hand, and 80 flaming sword shadows appeared. The number of the Guiyuan sword technique was determined by the cultivation level. Now, Qin Fei Yang had already stepped into the Divine Lord realm and could condense 80 sword shadows. But at this moment, there were more than 80 sword shadows. Because the 1,000 clones behind him had also activated the Guiyuan sword technique. In other words, at this moment, there were a total of 80,080 sword shadows in this world. They were densely packed and peerlessly sharp. The most important thing was, at this moment, the aura emitted by these sword shadows was far stronger than before. Shockingly, it had risen to the level of a high-grade deity art. This, the golden falcon was dumbfounded. As long as one wasn't an idiot, one could tell that the other party was raising the grade of the deity art. However, raising the level of a deity art was an extremely difficult task. It could even be said that it was something that could only be found by chance. It would only happen a few times in a lifetime. Furthermore, normally, they would find breakthroughs in the midst of life and death. But this human actually advanced by a grade so easily. His potential and comprehension ability were too terrifying. However, Qin Feiyang still did not seem to notice the improvement of the Guiyuan sword technique. More than 80,000 sword shadows turned into a rain of swords and blasted towards the two giant claws. Even though the Guiyuan sword art had been raised to the level of a high-tier celestial art, it was still unable to do anything to the two eagle claws. Blood flowed from Qin Feiyang's mouth, dyeing his body red. But he still turned a blind eye to it. Boom! The eclipse of the sun and moon, the ruins of the end, suddenly appeared. The waning moon, the scorching sun, and the invisible force formed by the ruins of the end roared in the sky. Furthermore, the aura of these two deity arts also soared to another level. Perfect deity art. What? He actually raised the grade of 3 deity arts in a row. The golden falcon was dumbfounded. On the mountain peak below, the black falcon and the white falcon were also staring angrily. This was simply a monster. No. It should be said that he was abnormal. No matter how good his talent and potential were, it couldn't be so ridiculous. But what was this? An even more shocking scene appeared. The 4 moves of the Fire Phoenix art appeared almost at the same time. Boom! A terrifying divine might enveloped heaven and earth. The Fire Phoenix art, which was originally a perfect deity art, suddenly soared to the level of a peak deity art. Seeing this scene, the shock in the Golden Falcon's heart could no longer be described with words. It was understandable to raise a mid-tier deity art and a high-tier deity art. But to raise a perfect deity art to a peak deity art, was this something that ordinary people could do? This guy was definitely not human. Because it was impossible for a lowly human to have such terrifying aptitude. Divine Prefecture was ruled by dragons. Because of the influence of the dragons, other types of beasts also looked down on humans from the bottom of their hearts. However, the upgrade of the Fire Phoenix art did not stop Qin Feiyang. The 3 moves of the Dragon God art reappeared. The aura continued to soar. Wait! What is he going to do? Could it be that he wants to raise the peak deity art to the legendary deity art? The golden falcon, the white falcon, and the black falcon all stared at Qin Feiyang with their eyes wide open at the same time, full of surprise and doubt. Boom! First was the 3rd move. The 3rd move, which had originally surpassed the peak deity art, directly broke the shackles and rose to the legendary deity art. The divine might soared several times in an instant. Immediately after, the 1st and 2nd moves also began to crazily rush to the legendary deity art. How can this go on? Boss, quickly stop him. The black falcon roared anxiously. The golden falcon quivered and came back to his senses, his eyes suddenly surging with ferocity. Battle soul, open. With a low roar, a small golden falcon claw rushed out from behind him. That small falcon claw was as big as an adult's palm, its entire body was golden and the aura it exuded was not the slightest bit inferior to the 2 giant falcon claws evolved from the perfect deity art. And at the same time, the white falcon and the black falcon also rushed into the sky, opened their battle souls, evolved the strongest deity art, and roared, "Lowly human, go to hell." At this moment, they did not hold back, only wanting to get rid of Qin Feiyang as soon as possible. Otherwise, if they let it continue to develop, the consequences would be unimaginable. Boom! Qin Feiyang and the 1,000 incarnations naturally would not sit still and wait for death. But unlike the 1,000 incarnations, Qin Feiyang completely felt the danger and instinctively counterattacked. 1001 statues, majestically charged forward. This move had already stepped into the legendary deity art. Low, middle, high, perfect, peak, legendary deity art. 6 levels, equivalent to 6 small realms. In other words, Qin Feiyang's current battle strength had already surpassed that of a great perfection deity. However, even the legendary deity art could not ignore the barrier of a large realm like the 6-word deity art. So, it was only surpassing the great perfection deity art, not reaching the half-step deity art. As for the black falcon and the other 2 beasts, not to mention the black falcon and the white falcon, because the 3rd move of the dragon god art had already killed them instantly. And the golden falcon had the cultivation of a great perfection deity art. It was 3 small realms higher than Qin Feiyang, and with the perfect deity art, it could increase its strength by 4 small realms. In other words, the golden falcon's strength was 7 small realms higher than Qin Feiyang. And excluding the increase of the 3rd move, the golden falcon's strength was still 1 small realm higher than Qin Feiyang. So, even if the 3rd move had stepped into the legendary deity art, it would still be difficult for Qin Feiyang to defeat the golden falcon. Boom! Under the bombardment of the golden falcon's battle soul and the deity art, the emperor statues shattered one after another. Every time an emperor statue shattered, the incarnations would also dissipate. Because after such a long battle, they had almost reached their limit. Crack! Accompanied by 2 loud sounds, the 2 giant eagle claws finally shattered. The black falcon and the white falcon's deity art and battle soul had also dissipated. The golden falcon's gaze turned cold as it shouted sternly, "Innate ability, strangle." At that moment, the golden falcon's claws stirred up a terrifying golden storm, shattering the statues and heading straight for Qin Feiyang. After a while, all the statues disappeared. Qin Feiyang's 1,000 incarnations also dispersed, leaving only Qin Feiyang behind. But he was still immersed in comprehending the deity art. He didn't seem to notice the oncoming storm at all. But just as he was about to be engulfed by the storm, he waved his hands. The first move of the divine dragon seal and the second move of the divine dragon roar appeared, and the aura they emitted had reached the legendary deity art. It was also at this moment. He suddenly raised his head and looked at the golden storm. At this moment his cultivation also soared to the great perfection deity art. It wasn't a breakthrough. It was the activation of the rising dragon technique. Following closely. With a wave of his hand, the divine dragon seal shone with a bloody light and blasted towards the storm. The blood dragon formed by the divine dragon roar raised its head to the sky and let out a dragon roar, also giving birth to a terrifying sound wave that rolled out. With the cultivation of a great perfection deity art, coupled with the legendary divine dragon roar and divine dragon seal, Qin Feiyang's current battle strength was already on par with the golden falcon. In some aspects, he was even stronger than the golden falcon. The two met with a loud bang. In less than 3 breaths of time, the golden storm was defeated by the divine dragon seal and divine dragon roar. Following closely, the 2 legendary deity arts charged towards the battle soul. Boom! Following an earth-shattering explosion, the golden falcon's fighting soul was also shattered. The golden falcon's blood gushed out, its eyes filled with shock. He really raised the peak deity art to the legendary deity art level. He was a complete pervert. At this moment, whether it was the golden falcon, the black falcon, or the white falcon, they couldn't help but feel fear in their hearts. Wait! Seeing that the divine dragon seal was about to attack, the golden falcon quivered and hurriedly shouted at Qin Feiyang. What's wrong? Qin Feiyang's mind moved, and the divine dragon seal stopped above the heads of the 3 beasts, the corners of his mouth pursed into a sneer. This is a misunderstanding. We agree to give you the nirvana tree. The golden falcon hurriedly said. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, do I still need you to give it to me now? Don't be unreasonable. If you provoke us, it won't do you any good. The golden falcon said in a deep voice. Then I really want to try. Killing intent flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes, and the divine dragon seal fell with a loud bang. The black falcon and the white falcon died on the spot, blood splattering in the sky. Although the golden falcon didn't die, its body was almost torn into pieces, and it was facing a near-death situation. But at the same time, in the void behind Qin Feiyang, a black sword light suddenly appeared, carrying a shocking murderous aura, and charged towards Qin Feiyang. There's still someone else. Qin Feiyang's face suddenly changed, and he hurriedly teleported to the side. But that sword light was too sudden. And it was familiar. Puff! One of Qin Feiyang's arms was cut off on the spot, blood splattering in the sky. Chapter 23:39. If he had not reacted in time and dodged quickly, not only would he have lost an arm, his entire body would have been split into two. Who is it? Qin Feiyang clutched his wound and suddenly turned to look at the void behind him. However, he did not even see a shadow. Could he be hiding in a space divine item? Qin Feiyang's gaze was gloomy as he released his divine consciousness and scanned the void. He did not find any traces of a space divine item. There was no need to think. The person who sneaked an attack on him must be hiding in a space divine item and had the soul concealing stone. Damn it, I won't let you off. The golden falcon let out a roar as a destructive aura rushed out from its body. Self-destruction. Qin Feiyang raised his brows. Clang. However, right then, that sword gleam appeared again. However, the target this time was not Qin Feiyang but the golden falcon. The golden falcon did not expect that the person in the dark would actually attack it. Right then, its huge body was mercilessly split into two by the sword gleam and it died immediately. Qin Feiyang stared at the sword gleam and focused his mind. The person in the dark would definitely attack him again. True enough. After killing the golden falcon, the sword gleam suddenly turned in the air and charged toward Qin Feiyang at lightning speed. Hiding your head and shrinking your tail. What a coward! Qin Feiyang shouted. The emperor's statue immediately appeared and raised the blood sword in its hand and slashed furiously. Boom! The sword gleam shattered on the spot. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. It seemed that this person's cultivation level was not high and was probably similar to the white falcon. Otherwise, the emperor's statue's sword could not have shattered the sword gleam so easily. However, this person was hiding in a space divine item and he was at his wit's end. Suddenly, he swooped down and swept toward the Nirvana divine tree at the mountain peak below. This person hid in the dark and attacked him sneakily and killed the golden falcon. He must be coveting the Nirvana divine tree as well. Therefore, he had to get the Nirvana divine tree first. Clang! But right at the moment he swooped down, the sword light suddenly appeared once more, and its sharpness tore through space. Qin Feiyang could not help but feel a burst of anger. He stopped in the void, and without hesitation, evolved the divine dragon seal, and blasted it towards the sword light. The two met in an instant. The sword light was crushed once again. However, just as Qin Feiyang was about to continue flying towards the peak of the mountain, he suddenly felt a fatal danger. Following closely, a black dagger entered his lower abdomen from his back. So fast. Qin Feiyang was shocked. He turned his head around and saw a black-clothed woman standing behind him. She was laughing coldly at him. The woman in black pulled out her dagger and took a few steps back. She looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "You're really hard to deal with." Qin Feiyang released his divine sense and supported his falling body. He slowly retreated and stared at the black-clothed woman. This woman only had the cultivation of a large success divine lord. However, the dagger in her hand was a supreme-grade divine artifact. But that's not right. The previous 2 sneak attacks were clearly a sword light. Could it be that this woman had another divine artifact in her hands? Where do you think you're going? A man's voice suddenly sounded behind Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang, who was retreating, suddenly froze and came to a realization. There was more than one person. Without hesitation, he immediately turned around and fled to the side. However, just as he turned around, a fist landed on his back. Boom! Immediately. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and then like a meteorite, he smashed into the ground below. He finally saw that man. It was a middle-aged man, also dressed in black, holding a 3-foot-long battle sword in his hand. Obviously. The person who had sneak attacked him previously was this middle-aged man. That battle sword was also a supreme-grade divine artifact. And the middle-aged man's cultivation was also a small realm higher than the black-clothed woman, a consummate divine lord. Don't blame us for being despicable. You can only blame yourself for showing too much strength. We could only sneak attack you. However, we have to thank you properly. If it weren't for you, we might never have gotten this Nirvana divine tree. The middle-aged man stood in the sky and looked at Qin Feiyang, who was falling continuously, and sneered. You win. Qin Feiyang said gloomily. As his voice fell, he smashed into a mountain. The mountain collapsed on the spot, drowning him. What's the use of having strength but no brains? The middle-aged man smiled disdainfully and looked at the black-clothed woman. Madam, he must be dead. Let's go and get the Nirvana divine tree. The black-clothed woman nodded. The couple immediately flew to the mountain peak. As for Qin Feiyang's death, they did not have any doubts. First of all, Qin Feiyang was already seriously injured when he fought with the Golden Falcon. Then, under their sneak attack, first one of his arms was broken, then his Sea of Qi was destroyed, then he was hit by a punch, and finally smashed into the mountain. After suffering fatal injuries consecutively, even a consummate divine lord would not be able to survive, let alone a mere low-level divine lord. The couple landed on the mountain peak and looked at the Nirvana divine tree greedily. Madam, you must keep the Nirvana divine tree a secret. Otherwise, if the people in the village know, especially the village chief, they will definitely be greedy. The middle-aged man suddenly said. I know. The black-clothed woman nodded and pondered for a while. When we go back, we will immediately head to Black Rock City. Okay. The middle-aged man thought for a while and nodded with a smile. Then, he uprooted the Nirvana divine tree and carefully put it away. Then, the couple looked at each other and smiled. Then, they turned into a stream of light and quickly disappeared into the sky. After the two of them left, the place gradually calmed down. Sigh. About 100 breaths later. Suddenly, a faint sigh was heard. A black-clothed young man covered in blood crawled out from a broken piece of land. It was Qin Feiyang. Not only was he covered in wounds, but his body was also covered in dirt. After crawling out of the soil, he lay on the ground and looked at the clear sky with a bitter smile on his bloodied face. He never thought that he would end up in such a sorry state. Originally, he could have entered the ancient castle. As long as he could avoid the couple's sneak attack, when the couple appeared, he had 10,000 ways to kill them. But since he decided not to rely on the heaven-defying divine artifact, he had to do it. However, although he was in a sorry state this time, he still gained a lot. The divine dragon technique was upgraded to the legendary level. The fire phoenix technique was upgraded to the pinnacle level. The eclipse moon and return to ruin technique were both upgraded to the perfect level. The Guiyuan sword technique was also upgraded to a superior level. His strength had increased exponentially. Now, even if he didn't activate the 6-word divine technique and use the heaven-defying divine artifact, he could still be called a king below the paramount god level. It seemed that this decision was right. If he wanted to become stronger, he had to abandon these trump cards and rely on his true abilities to find a breakthrough in battle. I must maintain the heart to enjoy the battle, Qin Feiyang muttered. Because only by enjoying the battle would it be easier to improve the level of the divine technique. Of course. Enjoying the battle was only secondary. The most important thing was the gate of potential. After opening the gate of potential, whether it was comprehension or potential, it was far superior to others. Right. Nirvana Divine Tree. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang shivered and hurriedly got up. As his body twisted, a sharp pain suddenly came from his body. This injury, even when facing the dragons, it doesn't seem to be this serious. Qin Feiyang sat on the ground and couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't go to the top of the mountain again. Because he knew that the Nirvana Divine Tree must have been taken away by the couple. What a pity. Qin Feiyang shook his head and was about to take out the Spirit Sea Pill and the Divine Life Pill. Rustle, but suddenly, a series of light footsteps entered his ears. He was stunned and looked towards the direction of the sound. The footsteps came from a forest on the left. But when he looked at the forest, the footsteps disappeared again. It shouldn't be a beast, because beasts wouldn't be so low-key. It couldn't be the couple. Because they wouldn't be so low-key. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed slightly and shouted, "I see you, don't hide, come out." Not long after his voice fell, a 17 or 18-year-old woman in yellow came out from behind a big tree and looked at Qin Feiyang warily. Next to the woman in yellow, there was a black-clothed young man in his 20s. The two of them looked at Qin Feiyang with a cautious expression. However, their cultivation was very weak. The woman in yellow was only a pseudo-god. The black-clothed young man had already stepped into the war god realm, but he was only a beginner. "Who are you? Why are you hiding there?" Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. The two seemed to be very flustered. Qin Feiyang's expression eased and said with a smile, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. Besides, I can't hurt you in my current state." Since these two little guys appeared here, it was very likely that they knew the couple. Sneak attack him? This debt couldn't be settled like this. Hearing this, the two looked at each other. The yellow-clothed woman said timidly, "Don't fool us, although you are seriously injured, with your cultivation, a wisp of divine sense can kill us." The black-clothed young man also nodded. Ah. Qin Feiyang was stunned. "You're pretty smart. Not bad." Even if he was seriously injured, even if his chi was destroyed, to kill a pseudo-god and a war god rookies was as easy as blowing off dust. The black-clothed young man glanced at Qin Feiyang, then looked at the yellow-clothed woman and said in a low voice, "Even the Golden Falcon and Li Dashan are no match for him, let's hurry up and leave." Li Dashan and his wife. Although the voice was very soft, Qin Feiyang heard it clearly and was slightly stunned. He really knew the couple. If that was the case, he couldn't let the two of them escape. Immediately, killing intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at the two of them and said, "If you chase me away, I'll kill you." Their eyes trembled. Qin Feiyang shouted, "Come here right now." The two of them trembled and took small steps, trembling as they walked toward Qin Feiyang. "Hurry up!" Qin Feiyang roared. Like thunder, it passed into the minds of the two, shaking their blood. Their faces suddenly changed, and they immediately rushed in front of Qin Feiyang. The black-clothed young man summoned his courage and stood in front of the yellow-clothed woman, looked at Qin Feiyang, and said, "Senior, if you want to kill me, please let Xiao He go." Chapter 2340. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He glanced at the yellow-clothed woman and the black-clothed young man and asked, "Aren't you afraid of death?" "Of course. But I don't want anything to happen to Xiao He." The black-clothed young man said. Qin Feiyang couldn't help laughing. Since you're afraid of death, why are you here? I didn't want to come. It's Xiao He who wants to come. The black-clothed young man said with a trace of helplessness. Qin Feiyang turned to the yellow-clothed woman and asked, Why are you here? I want to see if you're dead. The yellow-clothed woman stammered. See if I'm dead? Qin Feiyang was stunned. He frowned and said, So, you want my interspatial ring? If I'm dead, it'll be convenient for you? No. I don't think so, I just want to see if I can save your life. The yellow-clothed woman quickly waved her hand. Save me? Qin Feiyang was stunned. This answer was simply unexpected. He said suspiciously, We're not related. Why are you here to save me? The yellow-clothed woman lowered her head, not daring to look at Qin Feiyang's eyes. The black-clothed young man protected her. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Xiao He is such a kind girl. Qin Feiyang was stunned. They were not related. She didn't know whether he was a good person or a bad person, but she came to save him. If the black-clothed young man didn't trick him, she was really a kind girl. However, how could there be such a kind person in the world? Qin Feiyang, who was used to scheming, couldn't believe it. But at this moment, the yellow-clothed woman took out a spiritual sea elixir and a divine life elixir and handed them to Qin Feiyang timidly. Ah! Qin Feiyang was stunned again. Your injury is very serious. If you don't treat it quickly, it may affect your foundation. The yellow-clothed woman said softly. Qin Feiyang stared at the yellow-robed woman, then at the divine life pill and spiritual sea pill in her hand. He was in a daze for a long time. He actually gave him pills. It seemed that she was indeed a kind-hearted girl. Qin Feiyang suddenly smiled and reached out to take the pill. Both pills only had 3 pill veins. Normally, he wouldn't even give them a second glance. That was because any random pill he took out would have more pill patterns than this one. However, he took it and threw it into his mouth without hesitation. He didn't want to reject this kindness. Thank you. Qin Feiyang thanked him. His expression relaxed completely, and he regained his usual smile. The two of them were taken aback. It didn't seem that scary after all. Qin Feiyang asked with a smile, What are your names? I'm Li Feng. Xiao He's full name is Li He. The black-clothed young man said. Li Feng, Li He. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Why did they have the same surname as Li Dashan? Qin Feiyang said, Then when did you come? Xiao He and I have been training nearby. Just now, we suddenly sensed the fluctuations of a battle, so we came to check it out of curiosity. Li Feng said. Li He was still hiding behind Li Feng. Qin Feiyang asked, Did you see it? We saw it. Li Feng nodded and hurriedly waved his hand. Senior, don't worry. We won't tell anyone. Why are you nervous? It's nothing shameful. Qin Feiyang was speechless. They were so timid, yet they dared to come here to train. He really admired the courage of these two little guys. Li Feng was stunned. After thinking for a while, it seemed that there was indeed nothing shameful, so he smiled awkwardly at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, Then do you know the couple just now? We're from the same village. Of course we know them. Li Feng nodded. The same village? Qin Feiyang was stunned again. Shouldn't people from the same village be united against a common enemy? In the end, they came to save him. What on earth were these two little guys thinking? If Li Dashan and his wife knew about this, they would immediately scold them for being traitors. Li Feng added, However, I don't like them very much. Me too. Li He also said. Why? Qin Feiyang was stunned and looked at the two of them curiously. Their character is not good. They always bully everyone just because their cultivation is stronger than everyone's. They even dared to offend Li He's father. Li Feng said in disgust. Your father? Qin Feiyang looked at Li He. My father is the village chief. His cultivation is very strong. He is a consummate divine lord. Speaking of her father, a trace of pride appeared on Li He's face. A consummate divine lord, Qin Feiyang murmured, isn't he similar to Li Dashan? Their cultivation is similar, but their character is different. My father never bullies the people in the village. Li He glared at Qin Feiyang, thinking that Qin Feiyang was saying that her father was the same as Li Dashan. Don't be agitated. I didn't say that your father's character is bad. I just said that their cultivation is the same. Qin Feiyang was speechless. Li He was stunned and hurriedly said, Senior, I'm sorry, it's okay. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. This little girl was so innocent that it was scary. However, this innocence was not necessarily a good thing. Fortunately, she met him today. If she met someone with bad intentions, it was hard to imagine what would happen. Qin Feiyang asked, Is your village far from here? Not far. It's just outside this mountain range. Li Feng said. Qin Feiyang said with a smile, Okay, take me to your village. Why are you going to our village? Li Feng immediately became vigilant. It could be seen that he was much more alert than Li He. Qin Feiyang said, Look at my injuries, I have to find a place to recuperate. Recuperate? Li Feng looked at Qin Feiyang with some doubts. However, Li He glanced around and nodded, there are too many fierce beasts in this mountain. It's really dangerous. Xiao He, Li Feng frowned and stared at Li He. Did I say something wrong? Li He looked at Li Feng in confusion. Li Feng shook his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, Senior, I have no problem with you going to our village, but you have to promise me that you won't hurt anyone. Do I look like a bad guy? Qin Feiyang was quite depressed. He had tried very hard to show an amiable look. Why was he still so vigilant? Was it related to his current appearance? That was right. It must be so. After changing his appearance, he looked more fierce. Next. Qin Feiyang followed the two and flew out of the mountain range. On the way. He also knew a little about the two's village. The village they were in was called Cloud Mountain Village. There were about 2,000 households. The strongest people in the village were the village chief and Li Dashan, two consummate divine lords. As for half-step divine lords, initial divine lords, small divine lords, and great divine lords, there were hundreds of them. Naturally, there were more gods of war. This was also something Qin Feiyang didn't expect. A small village actually had two consummate divine lords. What about the entire divine land? It was unbelievable. This place was indeed not something the four major regions could compare with. About an hour passed. Finally, a village came into Qin Feiyang's sight. The village was located in the mountains and there were many buildings. Streams meandered down the mountains. The streams flowed slowly and were so clear that one could see the bottom. There were also bluestone paths that extended in all directions, connecting every house. As far as the eye could see, there were green mountains and clear waters everywhere. The mountain streams were surrounded by clouds and mist. This village was completely different from the village in Qin Feiyang's mind. In the villages he saw before, everyone's houses were basically piled together, forming a small town. But here, every house was far away from each other, distributed in picturesque disorder by the mountain stream. And the houses were not ordinary houses in the village. They were exquisite attics, basically built with good wood and meticulously built. Qin Feiyang was entranced. How was this a village? It was simply a paradise on earth. Soon, Qin Feiyang noticed a stone tablet at the entrance of the village. The stone tablet was dark and more than 10 meters tall. It was very eye-catching and there were 3 vigorous and powerful words engraved on it. Cloud Mountain Village. Qin Feiyang retracted his gaze and scanned the entire village. He looked at Li He and Li Feng and said with a smile, "The mountain is covered with clouds and mist, quiet and elegant. Your village is really not bad. Senior, you flatter us. How can a poor village like ours compare to those luxurious towns outside?" Li Feng said with a trace of yearning in his eyes. Qin Feiyang shook his head. He was still young and inexperienced. Otherwise, why would he yearn for the life of the outside towns? In fact, in terms of age, Qin Feiyang might not be older than Li Feng. He might even be younger than Li Feng. After all, Li Feng had already become a god of war. The difference between the two was that Qin Feiyang had experienced too much and had long been tired of this kind of life. He wanted to find a place like this where he could live peacefully and peacefully. With different experiences, the goal of life would naturally be different. Maybe one day, after Li Feng left the village and wandered for a few years, he would look back and see that Cloud Mountain Village was actually better. "Xiao Feng, Xiao He, who is he?" Suddenly, a loud voice was heard. Qin Feiyang and the other two looked down and saw a middle-aged man flying up from the mountains below. He stood next to Li Feng and Li He and looked at Qin Feiyang cautiously. "Don't tell anyone about Li Dashan and Li Feng." Qin Feiyang said to Li Feng and Li He and then sized up the middle-aged man. This person was quite strong. He was an early-stage divine lord. "Okay." Li Feng replied. He looked at the middle-aged man and smiled. "Uncle Yuan, we just rescued him from the mountains. He came to our village to rest for a few days." When Li Yuan heard this, his expression was incomparably astonished. He carefully looked at Qin Feiyang for a while, then turned his head to look at Li Feng and Li He, and said, "Are you sure you didn't make a mistake? You saved him?" Qin Feiyang's sea of vital energy had already been repaired. So, Li Yuan could see through Qin Feiyang's cultivation. Qin Feiyang was also an early-stage divine lord like him. An early-stage divine lord needed the help of a fake god and an early-stage god of war. Wasn't this a joke? So, he thought that Li Feng might be lying. He even suspected that Qin Feiyang was secretly threatening Li Feng and Li He. So, he became more vigilant and he seemed to unintentionally protect Li Feng and Li He behind him.